Part 48. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 473. P.S. Here is today's update. By the way, I would like to vote for some of the 515 Fans Festival. Everyone has 8 votes. If you vote, you will also get a few coins. I beg you all for your support and appreciation. Such a contrast made them all excited before, but if they gave up all this, even if they could escape the supervision of the Earth Army snipers alive, the small bombs in their bodies would not explode, but where could they go back? Continue to live the same life as before? Some of the Earth City soldiers may have become members of this force for the first time this night, but most of their thoughts at this time are thinking about not wanting to go back to the life they had before. Even some rational people think that even if they can go back to the past days, becoming a member of the Army of Earth City will definitely become a wanted existence in the city in the future, and their life will be more difficult than before. It's impossible for the two adults to just let us die. They must have some plan. Trust me, adults, and charge. Yes. Except for planting bombs for us, Lady Daphne loves us very much. I once saw her personally administering medicine to a wounded person. How could such a good officer let us die? Some of the things that Daphne had done in the past were finally revealed at this time. Soldiers revealed their knowledge to other soldiers through their own channels. Of course, how many of them were inside ghosts, that is something unknown. Rush. Maybe Earth City has some shortcomings in one way or another, but under the leadership of such a leader, they can achieve the great victory they have now. This was already beyond their expectations. Then go a little crazier. The battle for Earth City. Push it to a higher height? After all, they are here. They also have a true combat expert, their great Lord Assassin. If you attack a place with strong defenses, the assassin will definitely take action. These soldiers seem to have finally looked like soldiers only now. De Fune's plan for the soldiers is actually, boil frogs in warm water. For De Fune, this kind of thing has long been said to ding beyond is not equal to down left arrow os. Just been doing it. Throughout the history of the Earth, there have been many major battles. Similar things happen one after another. An enemy city or country that has just been conquered can be immediately driven as the vanguard of attackers to attack the next country or city. Maybe they are unwilling at the beginning, but after tasting victory, if you don't have the sweetness, you will become colluding. Such things abound, and they involve human nature and more complex things, which cannot be explained in a short while. As you command. The leaders of each combat team responded to the tasks assigned by De Fune. Finally, while exhaling a long breath, they solemnly accepted the order. They are so far. I still don't know the specific purpose of Earth City's actions, but this does not hinder the point that Daphne has been emphasizing that the mission of a soldier is to obey orders. These famous combat team leaders are all from Earth City members. They have experienced the gunfire of the sheriff's attack, and have also received the fearful light of all the forces in the Golden Desert. At this time, compared with the newly joined members, they have a stronger sense of honor and mission for Earth City. The Earth Army, whose offensive was in full swing, was about to attack the core area of City Number 5, which was also the most prosperous area, when the attack suddenly came to an abrupt halt. This made some of the strong defense teams that were hastily organized again in the core area feel confused for a moment, as if they clenched their fists and hit the cotton, feeling extremely uncomfortable. However, they were extremely lucky to be able to avoid fighting. The residents of City Number 5, who originally despised this small Jin Mo force, not only broke through the defense of the guard team, but also broke through each of the strong organizations. No one regards them as a rural force anymore. The Earth City changed its route. Naturally, the strong team recruited from City Number 5 did not dare to intercept. Although this news was reported at all levels, the reaction time of all the forces could not be that fast. However, This does not include a certain super civilization force that has already sharpened its sword and is waiting for an opportunity. In the deep cosmic starry sky, there is a medium-sized fleet composed of dozens of large and small warships. At this time, each ship is quietly suspended in the vacuum. These battleships are led by 4 500-meter large battleships, followed by more than 3,200-meter class powerful battleships. They all have flower-shaped marks on their appearance, which means that they are na-defu. The empire that Ni has always longed to enter, the Rulan Empire. Although Daphne had a practical understanding of this interstellar civilization and realized that they were just an ordinary civilization, which shattered her dreams, they still learned about the gravitational wave theory through Daphne, and even knew that Delphine's gravitational wave theory is such an important thing. But now that Daphne has fallen into the forces of Earth City, and enhanced by the powerful equipment she stole, she has reached a force level around the peak of the heaven level. At this time, they have no other option except to use force to arrest people. Okay, Earth City and City Number 5 have started fighting, and our diplomats, through the mediation of the past few days, stopped 4 small warships from the Asta Empire that wanted to approach the Grey Star. The commander of Rulan Empire's Grey Star Squadron was standing in the command cabin of a 500-meter class battleship. The name of this battleship was Hwaluo, and it was also the flagship of this Hwaluo fleet. As both Daphne and Jia Yan knew, the Rulan Empire was greedy for pleasure, and everything was built to be very fancy, so much effort was spent on the furnishings and decoration of the battleships. But this is one of the special features of the Rulan Empire. Although it has been criticized by other interstellar civilizations, they still enjoy the fact that they vigorously renovate a warship, which costs even twice as much as other warships of the same level in other civilizations. At this time, the commander was sitting on a flower-like command chair, issuing orders one by one to the staff on the side. Battleships, while overly decorated and beautiful, are not flashy things. This Hwaluo fleet has withstood many wars in the Grey and Yellow Star. Although it was forced out of the Grey and Yellow Star, it has always occupied the top 5 positions in the Shoals Galaxy. It is not a weak fleet at all. Now we can be sure that the fleets near the Grey and Yellow Star that can at least rush to rescue are not as powerful as us, and under our design, some chess pieces have been placed in the spaceport of City No 5. Quickly notify the information publishers and ask them to publish news to the entire galaxy, saying that a property of our Rulan Empire located in City Number 5 has been attacked by the Earth Army. Now we will immediately join the war to punish the Earth Army. The commander of the Hwaluo fleet sent out this news with a sparkle in his eyes. Yes. What responded to him was the extremely efficient operations of each operator. At the same time, the entire huge fleet finally took action. Each of their tails sprayed dazzling flames and moved quietly. This fleet used 4 500-meter class large space battleships as flags and drove quickly towards the Grey-Yellow Star not far away. Over City Number 5, the sounds of battles and explosions are still continuing, but these sounds have become sparse. Organizations that have not infringed on their own property will not risk their lives to attack the Earth's army. Attack. Since on the marching route map, the Earth Army's advance route bypassed busy streets and populated areas, at this time the Earth Army marched with almost no resistance at all. The members of the Earth Army finally seemed to have the appearance of an army at this time. They all looked solemn during the march, and they were able to carry out almost all the orders given by their superiors. Of course, there are still deserters, and there are quite a lot of them, but under the current circumstances, being able to maintain about 80% of the troops at the time of departure is already beyond Jia Yan and Daphne's expectations. Hurry! Don't you all have enough to eat? Oh, I remember you don't need to eat. Didn't I absorb electricity for you last night? Why are you so weak? Run quickly! An officer yelled angrily at a monster that was bigger than him. The monster, which was obviously more powerful than the officer, could only lower its head and slide its body rapidly. It is said to be sliding because the shape of this monster seems to be an electric trowel enlarged to more than 30 meters long. His body could only rely on the power of his brainwaves and gliding power to run on the ground, so naturally he couldn't go any faster. But there are many other weird-looking beings in Earth City that are even weirder than him, and there are even some that look like soft soil, crawling on the ground. But each one of these creatures was trying hard to not fall behind and galloping forward. However, there were not many others in the Earth Army, but there were too many tanks. Members who could not move quickly were pulled onto the tanks one by one and continued to fly forward. Quick! Quick! In the sky, a ray of gray-yellow sunlight gently shone down, and each of the extremely powerful life forms finally enjoyed the first ray of intoxicating warmth after a hard night of fighting. The sky has brightened. There are only 3 days left, and there is only the last day and night. But if the news of our attack on the spaceport spreads, those civilizations should take action against us. So the time will definitely be advanced again. Daphne is holding her holographic brain. At this time, she is as calm as an intellectual girl. But knowing its true face, she will definitely be afraid of its current appearance, because every time Daphne behaves like this, that is when she came up with some strange ideas, and each of these ideas was extremely correct. The same was true at this time. Although Daphne acted extremely calm, what she was thinking about was huge bloody battles in the future. The first update of the explosion, thank you to the book friend Tianyu for another 2 minutes coin reward in this case. Buletinyu is willing to go all out, and there will also be an explosion update tomorrow. As for today's explosion update, we will wait for you later. You can see how many more explosions there will be. 515 is coming soon, and I hope to continue to hit the 515 red envelope list by May 15th. The red envelope rain will be able to reward readers and promote promotional works. One Piece is also love, I will definitely update it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Buletinyu. Chapter 474. However, I have analyzed through some gossip before that the battleships of powerful civilizations are extremely far away from the Gray and Yellow Star, unless several civilizations of the warring countries, such as the land civilization, are even more than 10 million kilometers away. Even OS according to the Empire, there are only a few battleships not far away, so if they know the news and want to come, they can't come so fast. If you convert it this way, our time will be about 10 hours. Daifune looked solemn. It was impossible to cover up the news that the Earth Army was heading to the spaceport. Each civilization may not be able to judge anything from their forward route now, but as they get closer step by step, these civilizations will definitely know that the Earth, the target of the Army's attack, is actually the spaceport. Lord Giant Mosquito. In 15 minutes, it will be your time to set off. According to our previous plan, you must use your speed advantage to lead those powerful Golden Desert experts to drag the warships in the spaceport before the army arrives. On the ground, at least most of them must be contained, otherwise if they take off to attack, that will be the moment when our Earth Army is destroyed. Through the communication device, Daifune sent a communication to the commander on the other side, the real leader of this force, Jia Yan. Compared to Daifune, Jia Yan did not do much, but as a rock, without him, Daifune would not have been able to develop Earth City to what it is today. The relationship between the two can be said to be complementary. Okay, I get it. Jia Yan's eyes became serious. All along, Jia Yan and Daifune were not too worried about attacking City Number 5. After all, Earth City did not really want to break through City Number 5, but the defense teams on the periphery would be destroyed after their artillery fire. It's not something worth worrying about at all. After all, the huge number of Earth Army personnel is there. From the beginning to the present, Jia Yan has always felt that the real problem lies here at the spaceport. But no matter how big the problem is, it must be overcome. This is their determination. This is also their biggest uncertainty. First of all, The first problem is that Jia Yan has conquered all the strong men around him by force, but it is impossible to completely obey the discipline. Jia Yan turned his gaze. At this time, each of these strong men still didn't understand De Fune's current order. They just looked at the Earth army below who had changed their attack direction, feeling puzzled. In the next 15 minutes, we are going to raid an important location in city number 5. I will personally lead the team. If any of you dare to escape, then, you know what will happen. Jia Yan lightly used his brainwave power to emit extremely powerful energy. May I ask, sir, where is the place we are going to attack? A strong man named Jin Mo couldn't help but be shocked after seeing the serious words of Jia Yan. Finally, a strong man who was like a ball asked questions in confusion. Spaceport, Jia Yan continued to reply in his indifferent voice. Since they would all know it later, it would be better to tell them the destination now to avoid any changes that might happen when things come to pass. What? Spaceport. This. The half-spherical creature that asked the question was suddenly shocked and finally showed his anger. Master Assassin, I joined you to save my life, not to really sacrifice my life for you. If you really go to attack the spaceport, please forgive me that I will no longer sacrifice my life for you. While the ball-like monster was talking, it retreated towards the rear. At the same time, the eyes on the surface of the ball were spinning, looking at Jia Yan with great vigilance. After all, that was a powerful starry sky-level monster. When this monster surrendered before, he knew that he was no match for Jia Yan, but he thought that his spherical figure had a trait similar to that of a slam mother, that is, his whole body was soft. If he didn't hitting its core won't kill him. At the moment when this monster retreated, several other monsters also retreated towards the rear with their expressions changing dramatically. They have absolutely no loyalty to Earth City. At this moment, Earth City is going to attack the spaceport. This is an absolute suicide act. Each monster feels that it is death anyway, so it is better to break out with the ball monster at this moment. After all, the opponent is just a starry sky level, and it seems to be just a flying monster that has just broken through to the starry sky level. If they break through together, there may be a slight chance of escape. But these monsters obviously underestimated a real starry sky level creature. The moment Jia Yan noticed that the ball monster was retreating towards the rear, a twinkling light suddenly lit up in his compound eyes filled with gleaming light. There was no flying forward at all, he was just a slender 4-foot, like lightning drawn from the sky, stabbing hard at the rapidly retreating ball monster. At the same time, the brainwave power spread out overwhelmingly, and the sky where this powerful man gathered was instantly filled with his own powerful force field. Even if all around us are extremely powerful peak-level heaven-level creatures, there is a world of difference between starry-level and sky-level creatures if they are only one level apart. Although Jia Yan's combat power may be that of a junior starry sky-level monster, he is still an invincible existence to these peak-level monsters. Almost all monsters feel their bodies sluggish. Especially the retreating round monster. At this time, his body seemed to be wrapped in brainwave power. Although for a peak heaven-level person, this level of brainwave power could not completely render him unable to move. But at this time, Jia Yan violently exploded with the power of brain waves, and his body's movement speed was definitely not 1/3 as fast as before. He could only watch helplessly as the sharp 4-foot stabbed at him, with a hint of azure at the tip, penetrating through his body, without any possibility of defense at all. Phew! The sharp front feet pierced the body of the big mosquito. Jia Yan looked at the monster's body, and it seemed that there was a trace of strange liquid in its body. At this moment, he did not feel any reduction in his vitality. It turns out that his ability to survive is extremely strong because he has this core. Jia Yan is not a crude creature who only relies on instinct to fight. At this time, when he saw the round monster, it did not slow down his speed at all. He actually escaped, and his body fell out of Jia Yan's front feet, and the big hole that was pierced was also instantaneous. To make up for it, it was like he was immortal, and he stabbed coldly with his front foot again. Phew! How is that possible? The round monster roared in shock. No one knew that it would be impossible to kill this type of monster without destroying some of their main organs, but Jia Yan actually did it on the first. His core was discovered in an instant, and another blow was definitely aimed at its core. This monster was extremely frightened, but at this time it was unable to make any evasive movements. With a sway, its body was stabbed hard by the front legs of the big mosquito again. The core, which was similar in color to the translucent body, instantly shattered. The spherical monster let out a mournful cry, and its body instantly turned into a pool of blood that spread all over the sky. The other monsters who were about to move were also shocked. They all knew that the spherical monster was an absolutely defensive monster in Jin Mo. Even if they could defeat him, it would be extremely difficult to kill. But I didn't expect the assassin to be so exaggerated. After just one face-to-face encounter, I could find his real weakness and kill him with one strike. Sure enough, Jia Yan looked at the destroyed monster in front of him, and a smile suddenly appeared in his heart. As a starry sky-level monster, he not only has a starry sky-level body, but also has extremely powerful brainwave power. Previously, he also used the brainwave power to talk to the 3 starry sky-level monsters, which made him understand the brain. There is much more control and understanding of wave power. As for this dead spherical monster, his core power is where his brain is. Under such circumstances, he keeps releasing the power of brain waves. How could Jia Yan not be able to discover this core of his? Of course, this monster has never encountered a starry sky class before. Otherwise, any starry sky class who knows a little about the power of brain waves can easily kill him. And those monsters who wanted to escape didn't understand this. They just thought that Jia Yan, a strong man, had once again demonstrated an ability that they couldn't understand. They suddenly fell silent and followed the trend one by one. Under the suppression of his brainwave power, he became afraid to move. This is the result of being afraid of fighting. Moreover, we who attacked the spaceport have no chance of victory. I hope you will not do stupid things again. There was a hint of murderous intent in the big mosquito's compound eyes, and it locked all the monsters in front of it. Speaking softly with the power of brainwaves. Yes, my lord. That powerful monster was really desperate at this moment. He could no longer think of any resistance against the strength of the big mosquito. What's more, if the other party attacked the spaceport, it would be impossible for the other party to do so if there was no chance of victory, so at this moment, we can only fight for the chance of victory, instead of looking for a chance to escape here in Jia Yan. After all, the level difference between the two sides is too big. Huh? The Earth Army is on the move. They are heading in that direction. Why? Are there any targets over there for them to attack? Overhead, an aircraft used for media live broadcasts was constantly circling and discovered the strange movements of the Earth Army. At this moment, they were sending live broadcasts of the battle to the entire city number 5 and even the entire Gray-Yellow Star. However, a flying individual in the Earth Army also soared into the air at this time. Although it did not attack them, it was watching them eagerly and restricted the interview vehicle to a very long distance. Shoot down that interview aircraft. Suddenly, Daphne's merciless voice came from the strong man's communicator. The second update of the explosive update, Bayou hereby implores everyone to subscribe to the official version. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 475. Phone reading. P.S. Here's today's update, and I'd like to vote for the 515 Fan Festival. Everyone has 8 votes, and you'll get coins for voting. I beg you all for your support and appreciation. 3 updates of 10,000 words are completed. The first update is 3,000 words, the second update is 3,000 words, and the third update is 4,000 words, because the book friend Tianyu generously rewarded me again. After thinking about it, Buletinyu decided to continue to express his gratitude tomorrow. As for the it's still not 10,000 words, that's not necessarily true. I can only say 8,000 plus. At the same time, I would also like to thank the book friends who subscribed to the whole book. Again, thank you. Upon hearing Daifuni's order, the flying warrior belonging to the Earth City suddenly let out a ferocious laugh. Boom. Not long after, the live broadcast aircraft carrying hundreds or even tens of millions of viewers lost control and fell downwards. How dare the Earth Army? They even dare to destroy civilian aircraft. They are simply going to make people angry. In city number 5, the city's top officials who were observing the battle situation all became extremely angry. They have already provoked public anger, so they don't care about this. Only one senior executive was not so angry. Instead, under the face of Asta, the sinister eyes flashed with a gleam of light. Their actions must have a purpose. Now they are shooting down our informants one by one to cover up this purpose. So, where is this destination? These senior executives fell into silence. Could it be that their current move is just their smoke bombs? After they find all our detectors and destroy them, they will take a detour and directly attack our command center? After all, after destroying this place, city number 5 will fall into in the chaos without command. The situation was favorable to them. A senior executive expressed his opinion. Impossible. Do you know what the Earth Army wants? Do you know what the assassin wants? You don't know. We don't know, not even everyone on this planet knows. Even if they attack, so what if we leave our number 5 city? In this case, it's just a matter of hanging on for a day or two, waiting for the belligerent countries to resolve diplomatic issues. They still only have the word death. So, is it possible for them to go here? Suddenly, a strange voice came from a corner. It was a high-ranking Asta person. This person pointed in one direction of the holographic image, and there, a very eye-catching building complex was marked with a red dot. Spaceport. How is it possible? The Earth Army is crazy. How could they have the guts? A high-level executive from city number 5 retorted, but as soon as he said this, there was another sudden lag. Earth City seems to be really crazy. They dare to attack city number 5, dare to continue to attack under the watchful eyes of several star-level powerhouses, and even do not give face to those powerful civilizations. Do they really dare to do such a thing as attacking the spaceport? Quick! Send messages to the liaison offices of several major civilizations. Quick! Suddenly, these senior officials seemed to wake up suddenly and let out a shocking roar. Only now do the senior executives know. Earth City has such an idea. A spaceport, as the name suggests, is a port from a city to the universe. It is similar to a seawater port on a planet. Each spaceport here is an extremely important place. There are also many troops stationed in a spaceport. You must know that these are like customs. In places where there are a large number of materials and people every day. Travel to and from the stars in the universe through these spaceports. The spaceport in city number 5 is the city, and it is the only symbol of being an officially recognized big city. The entire city and even most of its funds rely on this spaceport to operate. Although this place is so important, no force has ever dared to take advantage of them, not only the indigenous forces in the gray-yellow star, but also several major star empires. Even the warring countries don't dare to have the idea of a spaceport, because it involves too much. A belligerent country may be extremely powerful, but it is still possible for the forces of other starry sky civilizations in the gray-yellow star to unite and drive a belligerent country out of the gray-yellow star. This is also the reason why Ruland civilization was driven out of the Grey Star in the past. Under the restrictions of several major civilizations, even the warring countries can't bear it. It shows who dares to set their sights on the spaceport. But now, such a force really appeared. This is Earth City. Should we call them stupid or smart? The high-level officials of City 5, all of whom have high IQs, studied the marching route of Earth City at this time, and suddenly discovered that these guys were really heading towards the spaceport. This was the original idea of the Earth Army. They wanted to attack the spaceport. If they were lucky enough to get some space transport ships or battleships, then they would be able to escape into the universe. That's it. But by doing this, they will completely offend several major civilizations. By then, let alone the Grey Star, there will be no place for them in any star field with civilization. Can they even escape shoals? Galaxy, it's all a matter of two things. No, I can guarantee that they will not be able to grab any transport ship, not even the smallest one. That is a spaceport where regular interstellar civilization troops are stationed. A senior executive said this. When the other characters heard his words, they all nodded silently. After all, although the Earth City is powerful and even has a starry sky level, the spaceport is not comparable to forces like them. Even a starry sky level powerhouse cannot. Even the decline. On the Earth City side, strong men are soaring in the air and charging forward. They were led by a flying creature. His entire body was dark and extremely huge, like a super mosquito magnified countless times. In fact, he is also a typical mosquito on the Earth, a mosquito belonging to the Chinese country on Earth, Anopheles sinensis. But in this strange interstellar world, no one can recognize what he is. At this moment, the big mosquito is flying in the sky, leading a team of strong men. Maybe no one can imagine that last year, this mosquito he's just a little bird no bigger than a fingernail. Now it is such a giant that it has even promoted its reputation on alien planets and started its own battles. The opportunities in the world may be so wonderful. Mr. Giant Mosquito, I have tried my best to cut off the communication network of City Number 5 for 20 minutes. The time you have to fight freely is estimated to be about 10 minutes. During this period, our ground troops from behind will arrive. And your purpose is to destroy their defensive artillery fire and try to control the space battleships that take off. I don't ask you to completely control them. At least you can't let them take off in large numbers to the extent that they can completely wipe out our ground forces. Please try your best. Dave Funi issued an extremely sincere instruction through the communicator. Okay, Jia Yan just responded lightly. He really didn't know whether the strong force he belonged to could complete this task. After all, as a strong man, he himself had the ability to suppress one or two space battleships, but he didn't have much hope for these strong men below. Great hope, and these strong men are still different in appearance. Jia Yan doesn't know how much effort they will make by then. Go forward. The goal is in front of you. The speed of flying in the sky is extremely fast. In a city, the appearance of the spaceport has quickly appeared in front of you. Jia Yan looked at the buildings over there and couldn't help but sigh, this place is definitely the best in the entire Number 5 city. A place with the most powerful defense and attack. The spaceport is located in the northwest of City Number 5. It is close to a large area of small desert land. In fact, this desert is artificially created. It is not surprising that almost all deserts in the entire gray-yellow star are maintained artificially. Otherwise, those gray-yellow stars are artificially maintained. The terrifying growth ability of yellow trees. It is absolutely easy to completely cover the entire gray-yellow star with a gray-yellow ocean. As for the Number 5 city spaceport, this large area of small desert was built to facilitate the takeoff, landing and placement of various types of spacecraft. Through the layers of defensive walls, Jia Yan could find several large transport ships docked on the ground, as well as the slightly exquisite small manned passenger ships. You must know that among space battleships, aircraft carrier-class battleships are the largest. But in fact, the truly huge spacecraft are actually the commercial transport ships. The largest transport ships on the ground are more than 1.5 kilometers long, and the small ones are 500 meters long. This is still the largest transport ship. If it were not here, if the largest ship belonging to the spaceport were here, Jiayan would definitely be shocked. You must know that the largest transport ship is 2 kilometers long, and the entire carrying capacity is also extremely terrifying. But at this time, Jiayan didn't have much free time to see these ordinary transport ships. After just a glance, he quickly searched for the figures of those battleships. The battleships in this spaceport are divided into two parts. One part is regularly docked in the open space, ready to take off to meet the enemy at any time. The other part is placed underground and used as a reserve force. My first target is those battleships placed on the ground. A group of monsters were extremely fast. Their flying speeds increased to about 15 times the speed of sound. Although some monsters that were not good at flying could not catch up, they felt an extremely powerful energy pulling them along the way, so that their bodies could barely keep up. This is Jiayan's way of using the power of brain waves. Although doing this will consume his strength, there is no other way now, not to mention the bottles of high-level nutrient solution placed under his wing membranes are fully prepared. He still consumes this small amount of energy. Affordable. As these powerful monsters approached one by one at such a high speed, the defense system of the spaceport failed to respond. When they reached about 1 kilometer from the spaceport, a harsh sound was heard. The siren. Oh oh oh. The sirens blared throughout the sky, making every worker inside extremely nervous at this moment. What's happening here? These workers are all nervous and have doubts. After all, they have been working in this spaceport for so long and have never encountered such a thing. In fact, in the history of the Grey Star, the spaceport has involved almost all civilizations in this galaxy. Interests, so there is no precedent for being attacked. Even though the Earth Army was approaching and City Number 5 was in danger, Shui never thought that the Earth Army, a small force, would go crazy and attack City Number 5. How dare they attack the spaceport? This is simply the most ridiculous thing in the world. Who is he? He's so close to the spaceport. Don't you know how to write the word death? The first officer of the spaceport is a civilized representative elected by several major civilizations through voting. At this time, this officer came out of the office very strangely, followed by a female from their civilization. He looked disheveled and his good deeds were ruined. Naturally, the first officer was extremely annoyed. We don't know either, we just know that they are a group of extremely fast and powerful creatures. They may be the strong men of Earth City attacking City No. 5. One of his subordinates didn't dare to read more and just reported the report. Earth City? It's the Golden Desert Force that can destroy the Asta warships, right? What a bunch of lunatics. I've already rejected the request for help from City Number 5, so I've already spared them, and I dare to come here to show off my power. They definitely want to show off their force to us. These damn indigenous forces think they are a big force after occupying the Golden Desert. They also want to show off their force to our spaceport. Guys, let me warn them, no, just turn on the artillery fire and kill them all. The first officer listened depressedly to the long sirens beside him. The sirens sounded very harsh to him. He had never experienced such a sound, nor had his predecessor experienced it, nor had his predecessor's predecessor. Damn it! It's his turn to experience this, which is simply uncomfortable news, isn't it? The first officer felt that the indigenous forces on this planet were all a little too arrogant. After this matter was over, he should propose an interstellar spaceport alliance on the Grey Star. It's time to teach the forces of the entire planet a lesson. Teach them what true strength is. Starry sky level? What is that? Not reaching the level of the high-level starry sky level, that is, the gun god Asta, even the commander of the biochemical empire, Bulla, is just a little bug that may die at any time in a real cosmic war. The first officer smiled. Not good. Suddenly, the communications soldier beside him roared in surprise. How? The first officer was also surprised, but before he could turn his head and look, an extremely violent bombing sound was already coming from the direction of the political front. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion made the first officer's ears instantly deafen, and the shock for a moment seemed to make people vomit blood. Shaking violently, the female of the same race next to him grabbed his clothes. However, although the first officer was incompetent, he still had some basic officer qualities. He immediately shook off the female creature and looked up at the holographic image screen carried by the communication soldier. On top of it, a huge flying monster was seen. With a thrust from its front legs, it had already stabbed the body of a 200-meter class space battleship docked on the ground. 515 is coming soon, and I hope to continue to hit the 515 red envelope list by May 15th. The red envelope rain will be able to reward readers and promote promotional works. One Piece is also love, I will definitely update it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 476. P.S. Here's today's update, and I'd like to vote for the 515 Fan Festival. Everyone has 8 votes, and you'll get coins for voting. I beg you all for your support and appreciation. Boom 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 boom. Jia Yan hit a very conspicuous 200-meter class battleship docked on the ground with one blow, and huge explosions could be heard continuously. The battleship exploded. The other monsters charged towards the defensive artillery fire one by one. Although their strength was only at the peak of the heaven level, they were definitely qualified to fight a sneak attack where the opponent was not prepared at all. Who attacked Earth City? Is this force really crazy? It's so shameless. It actually destroyed a battleship. What is the reason that makes the Earth City so crazy? Do you think that relying on a weak Starry Sky class can attack our spaceport? It is simply a crazy force that fights indiscriminately. Contact us, quickly. What? Our signal is blocked by an unknown band? Bastard, it must be a trick played by Earth City. It's okay even if it's just us. It's just an Earth City. We can destroy them with a backhand. Jia Yan's attack caused a huge uproar in the entire spaceport. Many soldiers and commanders were scurrying around in confusion, but they couldn't find what to do for a while. Boom! In an instant, there was another huge explosion on the ground not far away. It turned out that Jia Yan, after destroying one battleship, did not make any stop at all, and directly attacked another battleship again, causing it to explode. An explosion occurs directly. Because he had already had the experience of dealing with warships, and because these docked warships did not have energy defense turned on, Jia Yan at this time could easily deal with these warships that were just staying on the ground. To him, they are just some relatively hard turtle shells. This bastard flying creature. Does he know how much one battleship costs? He actually destroyed 2 of them at once. Quick! The ground crew and the watchmen inside the battleships, turn on the battleships, emergency turn on. When the first officer saw 2 battleships being destroyed, his expression turned ugly instantly, because no matter how well he did next, these 2 battleships were destroyed by a mere small force. Something like this would be enough to knock him down from his high position. At this moment, the first officer is also acting crazy, and Earth City does not know what means to use. He actually cut off the communication in their spaceport for a moment, but this is an authentic military communication network. It only takes 5 minutes to repair the network. By then, he must kill all the intruders from these small forces. Kill him and return to his superiors with good news. Otherwise, Not only will his career as a soldier come to an end, but he may also be responsible for being dragged into a military court. Kill. I turned on the artillery fire to the maximum. All the personnel of the battleship were lifted into the air, and a secret 500-meter class battleship in the ground was also turned on. I don't believe it. A mere Earth city can kill all the warships in our spaceport. Can't it be restricted? The first officer dialed the numbers of all lower-level commanders and issued his orders instantly. Pa 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 pa. Confused footsteps everywhere. When you get up in the spaceport, don't forget that this spaceport has more than just soldiers. It is a place of commerce, and it is also a port that can accommodate people. At this time, countless people were crying and screaming, enduring the explosions that kept ringing in the planes. Young small intelligent creatures. They were crying everywhere, and the explosions might have knocked them unconscious. The other adults behaved in the same way. They were so stubborn that today was still the peak day for the guests of the spaceport. Because of Earth City's crazy attacks, there are many residents in City 5 who no longer want to stay in City 5, and perhaps they don't think that City 5 will be destroyed. But staying away from this place is their first choice, so that at this time, countless people outnumber all the soldiers of the Empire. These ordinary people became chaotic and caused great difficulties to the soldiers who needed space for defense. How did Earth City do it? It was able to destroy our communication system for 5 minutes. This is simply not something that an ordinary force can do. You must know that this is a military communication network. Some senior spaceport officials in charge of communications were extremely surprised at the damage to the communications network. What he didn't know was that in an area where a low-level correspondent was, a young man who looked like he was from Osta was running away like crazy. He is wearing the uniform of the spaceport, and his soldier number is also regular. It can be seen that this person is a real spaceport soldier. Behind him were chasing more than a dozen soldiers in the same uniform. Except for their numbers, these soldiers all had the same equipment. It can be seen that they have the same identity as the man running in front. Oh lookin', you can't escape. You bastard, how dare you do this? You are actually a spy from Earth City. If I had known earlier, I shouldn't have let you into our system. You deserve to die. The man running in front finally entered a dead end after flying awkwardly to avoid a ray of light. The soldiers who were chasing behind him all caught up to him. When they saw that this man had no way out, they were all angry and their expressions became ferocious. Together with the man who escaped, they were all communications soldiers responsible for grassroots communications. Originally, this was an extremely simple job, but they didn't expect that after seeing the arrival of several powerful men from the Earth City today, their colleague actually made preparations for a long time in an instant. Code, destroying and paralyzing the entire communication network they were responsible for. Although it is impossible to destroy a real military network, it can still be paralyzed for 5 minutes. How could these communications soldiers not understand at this time that this man was also a spy from Earth City? Haha. You are jointly and severally responsible, and you will definitely go to jail in the future. The young Asta man had no way to escape, but he still laughed like a roar at all his colleagues. You deserve to die. Call out. A ray of light shot out from the gun in the hand of a communications soldier and immediately pierced the man's chest. Wow, the young Asta man spat out a mouthful of blood. He seemed to remember why he came to this place. Not long ago, he was just a young man who wanted revenge and joined the spaceport training force a few years ago. His parents were killed by the first officer of this spaceport. He survived by chance and joined the spaceport soldier training course just to have a chance to avenge his parents. But he didn't expect that even though he had tried his best to conceal his identity, someone who saw through his identity still came to his door. Fortunately, what was attracted was not a spaceport, but a place calling itself Earth City. At that time, Earth City was still a relatively unknown force, but they at that time. He has actually spread his tentacles throughout the spaceport. Olokin agreed to the other party's conditions. The other party will kill the first officer, and he, a little soldier, will go all out to enter the communications department and implant a code from Earth City into the communications equipment system at a critical moment. He even gave a big gift to Earth City during this period. This is also the beginning and end of this time. Puff. Olokin spat out a mouthful of blood again, but his eyes did not lose color. Long live Earth City. In Olokin's mind, it was revealed that he was in the secret earphone before. The sound he heard made him shout with excitement. At this time, he also used all his strength and shouted loudly. Long live Earth City. Long live the Earth Army. Whoosh whoosh. Rays of light continued to penetrate the figure of the young Asta man, but they could not stop him from continuing to shout. Prick. The man years ago was finally unable to shout out the last words, and his eyes that gradually lost focus passed through the blind corner. I saw a huge figure gradually appearing in the sky. What a beautiful and powerful figure that is. Ologon looked at the strong and beautiful figure that appeared, and the life color in his eyes gradually disappeared. But the corner of his mouth curved up. During the days when he became a spy in Earth City, he received a lot of help from Earth City. My wife, children, and friends have also been settled in Earth City. Earth City has helped him do his best in everything, but he still has one last wish, the biggest wish he wants to fulfill. That is to see with your own eyes the legendary leader of Earth City, the assassin. It was precisely because of him that he had hope for revenge, and maybe he died because of it. But he has no regrets. Now, an extremely huge figure, attracted by the shouts, gave up a little bit of special attack time. Heading here, it suddenly dropped. His wish was fulfilled at the last moment of his life. Long live my lord. I don't know where the strength came from, this Asta man murmured the last voice softly. His bloody palm stretched out, as if to explore the huge life in front of him, as if to explore a beautiful life. Yearning. After that, his palm fell softly to the ground. This kid is finally dead. A soldier looked at Olokin lying in a pool of blood and smiled disdainfully. He is doing his best for an indigenous force, but how can this force make a difference? He is simply a fool. Whether he is a fool or not is not your place to comment. Suddenly, a huge momentum completely annihilated all the soldiers present. Jia Yan, who was suspended above these soldiers, instantly launched his own brainwave power attack. Facing these low-level soldiers, he didn't even need to activate his strength. He could easily kill them with his brainwave power. The lifeless corpses of the soldiers fell to the ground. Jia Yan looked at the body of young Asta, who also had no breath of life, and felt an unknown feeling in his heart. Boom 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 boom. Jia Yan hit a very conspicuous 200-meter class battleship docked on the ground with one blow, and huge explosions could be heard continuously. The battleship exploded. The other monsters charged towards the defensive artillery fire one by one. Although their strength was only at the peak of the heaven level, they were definitely qualified to fight a sneak attack where the opponent was not prepared at all. Who attacked Earth City? Is this force really crazy? It's so shameless. It actually destroyed a battleship. What is the reason that makes Earth City so crazy? Do you think that relying on a weak Starry Sky class can attack our spaceport? It is simply a crazy force that fights indiscriminately. Contact us, quickly. What? Our signal is blocked by an unknown band? Bastard, it must be a trick played by Earth City. It's okay even if it's just us, it's just Earth City. We can destroy them with a backhand. Jia Yan's attack caused a huge uproar in the entire spaceport. Many soldiers and commanders were scurrying around in confusion, but they couldn't find what to do for a while. Boom. In an instant, a huge explosion occurred on the ground not far away. It was Jia Yan who destroyed a battleship. Without making any stop at all, he directly attacked another battleship again. Cause it to explode directly. Because he has already had the experience of dealing with warships, and because these docked warships did not have energy defense turned on, Jia Yan at this time could easily deal with these warships that were just staying on the ground. To him, they were just a few. It's just a relatively hard turtle shell. This bastard flying creature. Does he know how much one battleship costs? He actually destroyed 2 of them at once. Quick! The ground crew and the watchmen inside the battleships, turn on the battleships, emergency turn on. The first officer saw 2 battleships destroyed. His expression turned ugly instantly, because no matter how well he did next, just the destruction of these 2 battleships by a mere small force was enough to pull him down from his high position. At this moment, the first officer was also acting crazy. The Earth City did not know what means it used to cut off the communication in their spaceport for a moment, but this was an authentic military communication network. It only takes 5 minutes to repair the network. At that time, he must kill all the intruders from these small forces and return to his superiors with good news. Otherwise, his career as a soldier would not only be over. It is even possible to be dragged to a military court. Kill. I turned on the artillery fire to the maximum, all the personnel of the battleship were lifted into the air, and a secret 500-meter class battleship in the ground was also turned on. I don't believe it. A mere Earth City can kill all the battleships in our spaceport. Can't it be restricted? The first officer dialed the numbers of all junior commanders. He immediately issued his order. Pa 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 pa. There were panicked footsteps everywhere in the spaceport. Don't forget that this spaceport has more than just soldiers. It is a place of commerce, and it is also a port that can accommodate people. At this time, countless people were crying and screaming, enduring the explosions that kept ringing in the planes. Young, small intelligent creatures were crying everywhere, and the explosions might have knocked them unconscious. The other adults behaved in the same way. They were so stubborn that today was still the peak day for the guests of the spaceport. Because of Earth City's crazy attack, there are many residents in City 5 who don't want to stay in City 5. Maybe they don't think City 5 will be destroyed, but staying away from this place is their first choice. As for the countless people at this time, the number exceeds all the soldiers of the Empire. These ordinary people became chaotic and caused great difficulties to the soldiers who needed space for defense. How did Earth City do it? It was able to destroy our communication system for 5 minutes. This is simply not something that an ordinary force can do. You must know that this is a military communication network. Some senior spaceport officials in charge of communications were extremely surprised at the damage to the communications network. What he didn't know was that in an area where a low-level correspondent was, a young man who looked like he was from Osta was running away like crazy. He is wearing the uniform of the spaceport, and his soldier number is also regular. It can be seen that this person is a real spaceport soldier. Behind him were chasing more than a dozen soldiers in the same uniform. Except for their numbers, these soldiers all had the same equipment. It can be seen that they have the same identity as the man running in front. Oh lookin', you can't escape. You bastard, how dare you do this? You are actually a spy from Earth City. If I had known earlier, I shouldn't have let you into our system. You deserve to die. The man running in front finally entered a dead end after flying awkwardly to avoid a ray of light. The soldiers who were chasing behind him all caught up to him. At this time, they saw that this man had no way out. All of them were angry and their expressions became ferocious. Together with the man who escaped, they were all communications soldiers responsible for grassroots communications. Originally, this was an extremely simple job, but they didn't expect that after seeing the arrival of several powerful men from the Earth City today, their colleague actually made preparations for a long time in an instant. The codes will make them responsible for this piece of communication network. The whole thing is destroyed and paralyzed. Although it is impossible to destroy a real military network, it can still be paralyzed for 5 minutes. How could these communications soldiers not understand at this time? This man is also a spy from Earth City. Haha. You are jointly and severally responsible, and you will definitely go to jail in the future. The young Asta man had no way to escape, but he still laughed like a roar at all his colleagues. You deserve to die. Call out. A ray of light shot out from the gun in the hand of a communications soldier and immediately pierced the man's chest. Wow, the young Asta man spat out a mouthful of blood. He seemed to remember why he came to this place. Not long ago, he was just a young man who wanted revenge and joined the spaceport training force. A few years ago, his parents were killed by the first officer of this spaceport. He survived by chance and joined the spaceport soldier training course just to have a chance to avenge his parents. But he didn't expect that even though he had tried his best to conceal his identity, someone who saw through his identity still came to his door. Fortunately, what was attracted was not a spaceport, but a place calling itself Earth City. At that time, Earth City was still a relatively unknown force. But at that time, they had actually spread their tentacles throughout the spaceport. Olukin agreed to the other party's conditions, and the other party would kill the first officer, while he, a small soldier, entered the communications department with all his strength. At a critical moment, a code from Earth City will be implanted into the communication equipment system. He even gave a big gift to Earth City during this period. This is also the beginning and end of this time. Puff. Olukin spat out a mouthful of blood again, but his eyes did not lose color. Long live Earth City. In Olukin's mind, he revealed the sound he heard in the secret earphone before. A shout that made him excited. At this time, he also used all his strength and shouted loudly. Long live Earth City. Long live the Earth Army. Whoosh whoosh. Rays of light continued to penetrate the figure of the young Asta man, but they could not stop him from continuing to shout. Prick. The man years ago was finally unable to shout out the last words. His eyes that gradually lost focus looked at a huge figure gradually appearing in the sky through the blind spot. What a beautiful and powerful figure that is. Oluogan looked at the strong and beautiful figure that appeared, and the life color in his eyes gradually disappeared. But the corners of his mouth curved up. During the days when he became a spy in Earth City, he had received a lot of help from Earth City, and his wife, children, and friends had also been settled in Earth City. Earth City has helped him do his best in everything, but he still has one last wish, the biggest wish he wants to fulfill. That is to see with your own eyes the legendary leader of Earth City, the assassin. It was precisely because of him that he had hope for revenge. Maybe he died because of it, but he had no regrets. Now, an extremely huge figure, attracted by the shouts, gave up a little bit of special attack time. Heading here, it suddenly dropped. His wish was fulfilled at the last moment of his life. Long live my lord. I don't know where the strength came from, this Asta man murmured the last voice softly. His bloody palm stretched out, as if to explore the huge life in front of him, as if to explore a beautiful life. Yearning. After that, his palm fell softly to the ground. This kid is finally dead. A soldier looked at Olukin lying in a pool of blood and smiled disdainfully. For an indigenous force, he did his best to, but how could this force make a difference? It's simply a fool. Whether he is a fool or not is not your place to comment. Suddenly, a huge momentum completely annihilated all the soldiers present. Jia Yan, who was suspended above the heads of these soldiers, instantly launched his own brainwave power attack. Facing these low-level soldiers, he didn't even need to activate his strength. He could easily kill them with his brainwave power. The lifeless corpses of the soldiers fell to the ground. Jia Yan looked at the body of young Asta, who also had no breath of life, and felt an unknown feeling in his heart. If the next chapter is 3,000 words, it means there is another 4,000-word chapter, and the total is still 10,000 words, but if the next chapter is 5,000 words, then there will be no subsequent chapters. Today is 8,000 words. 515 is coming soon, and I hope to continue to hit the 515 red envelope list by May 15th. The red envelope reign will be able to reward readers and promote promotional works. One Piece is also love. I will definitely update it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Buletin U. Chapter 477. As a leader, he had done too little. He didn't know whether he was sad or happy when he saw that this man, for the sake of Earth City, actually paid with his life for the force he created on a whim. Defune, give him the name of a martyr. Jia Yan flew up again and rushed to the next battleship target. Even for the sake of this dead young man, he had to work harder. Yes, sir. From the other end of the communicator, Daphne's voice of approval came. Boom boom boom. The spaceport of City Number 5, which was once extremely prosperous and considered extremely safe, actually experienced an unprecedented large-scale war. Those ground space battleships became unable to take off because of just one flying monster. This huge flying monster has extremely terrifying speed, but this speed should not be able to limit the space battleship. The only reason was that Olukin, who had fallen to the ground, had done something good. This soldier actually added a malicious code that confused the code name in the code he wrote. The procedures for unlocking battleships are extremely cumbersome because they are for military use. With this obfuscated code, the startup time will take several more procedures. But in the current situation, every extra second will lead to the destruction of one or even several battleships. The situation is completely out of control. Even Jia Yan and Defune didn't know the reason. They actually completely destroyed nearly 20 space battleships on the ground in 3 minutes, without letting anyone take off. On the other side, more than a dozen of Earth City's top experts had to help fight under the threat of Jia Yan. Some of the defensive artillery fire even became fragmented and directly destroyed under their attack. However, when Jia Yan attacked the battleship, 5 individuals still took the opportunity to escape. When Jia Yan came to his senses, these extremely fast-flying individuals were already far away, leaving only their backs. Even if Jia Yan activated the small bombs that Defune placed in their bodies, he only saw 2 of them fall. The other 3 shook one by one and still fled far away in the blood that exploded in the sky. Go. In this way, Jia Yan had no choice. After all, the combat mission at this time was extremely heavy, and he could not waste time pursuing it. You continue to attack. If someone wants to escape next time, think clearly about what will happen to you on the Grey Star. Even if you escape, Jia Yan said these words to the other strong men. After that, without looking back, he headed toward a crack, from which a battleship poked out of the ground 3 kilometers away, and charged towards it crazily. Since all of his subordinates have become so crazy, why can't he, as the leader of a force, be crazy for once? Jia Yan admitted that he was finally moved by this force. As a leader who didn't care about things and didn't even have a sense of responsibility for this Earth City, he admitted that he finally had feelings for this force. So in this battle, he became even harder. Boom. The battleship that had just poked its head out suddenly suffered a blow from above. Bo. A transparent and invisible energy defense appeared around this 200-meter class battleship. Jia Yan's front foot thrust was finally defended. As a fully maneuverable battleship, the defensive energy of this battleship is activated. It is not that easy to destroy the Mosquito with its current attack power. After all, this is a real battleship. It is indeed a battleship. The previous targets were not their true form at all. Now is the moment of greatest crisis. Jia Yanfu's eyes were full of solemnity. Compared with the 200-meter class battleship in front of him, his body seemed much smaller. However, at this time, Jia Yan's momentum was unparalleled. You must know that he was quite powerful before. Nearly 20 identical warships were destroyed. That was only 19 ships just now, so go die together and get a round number of 20 for me. Jia Yan roared in his heart. At the same time, the front foot he stabbed finally turned into a completely blue color, especially the top of the front foot. The blue almost bloomed with brilliance, and a strange sharpness became its biggest feature. Sharp, powerful, and terrifying. Phew. Jia Yan's thrust this time finally penetrated the thin transparent defense of the battleship. How is it possible? His attack power suddenly increased so much in the battleship, one soldier after another was extremely frightened. As alien warriors, their obsession with data is extremely rigorous. Previously, the big Mosquito attacked that the battleships that could not be opened after being docked obviously did not have the attack power to break through the protective energy of the battleships, but now, the attack power has inexplicably increased instantly. It's weird. This monster actually didn't show any signs of physical decline after destroying 19 docked battleships. How is this possible? Even if they just docked there, they were still battleships. No matter how powerful this Starry Sky class is, its physical strength is also limited. At this time, not only did it not weaken, but it also exploded with more powerful power. Something is wrong, something is really wrong with this monster. The soldiers in the battleship couldn't believe it one by one. The first element of the warriors of interstellar civilization is to believe in data. This has been engraved in their bones for a long time. But at this moment, they found that the big Mosquito was unexpectedly powerful, and they suddenly became dumbfounded. Learn how to cope. Don't be stunned, activate the surface defense of the steel plate, and be prepared for the collision. He is coming again. Sure enough, the big Mosquito displayed in the holographic images of all combat units raised its front feet again at this moment, and the blue light in the front feet bloomed extremely intensely. The attack just now was definitely his ultimate move and explosion. There is no way this attack can continue to be that powerful. It is absolutely impossible to break through the defense. Buzz buzz buzz. Jia Yan only felt that an invisible film-like force appeared faintly on the surface of the battleship steel plate in front of him. The brilliant light in Jia Yanfu's eyes also shone fiercely. In fact, Jia Yan's endurance may be another invisible strength of his. Not only has his strength not weakened yet, he even feels that he can continue fighting for a long time. This is why, in addition to his blue defense, he has another layer of powerful foundation. This layer of defense is definitely not as powerful as the previous transparent energy defense. Give me, die. Boom. Jia Yan stabbed the steel plate of the battleship. The bright and dazzling Mars shined on the interface, and the explosion in an instant almost exceeded the brightness of the sunlight in the sky, causing people to be temporarily blinded and lose their vision. Naturally, Jia Yan will not be blind. His compound eyes are still like the stars in the starry sky, bright and bright, looking at his front feet in the flames. The front foot stabbed the battleship's defense steel plate, and the force was not as weak as the previous attack. Click. At the first moment, the battleship was stabbed by an extremely powerful attack and a dent appeared. Then at this most fragile point, the thin layer of steel plate that defended the surface of the steel plate, finally cracked. Phew. The stalemate lasted for less than a second, and the depression seemed to have pierced something hard but easily brittle. With the sound of cracking, the sharpest and hardest part of his forefoot, with a strange azure color, penetrated among the steel plates. The feeling of stabbing finally became as if it was overwhelming. Boom. The front foot completely pierced into the steel plate. Jia Yan felt the rupture of all defenses. The feeling of pleasure of piercing through a powerful defensive thing was finally released. Give me, destroy, he roared in his heart, and the power he used in his feet became more domineering, as if his physical strength had no limit at all, and at this time, his strength actually increased again. Among the objects stabbed in the forefoot, there were defensive steel plates, metal layers in battleships, and even fresh lives. Screams continued to echo in the battleship. These spaceport garrison troops were S idea that as long as he activated any battleship, he could easily defeat the strongest man from Earth City. It was shattered at this moment. Along with the screams, Jia Yan finally started to stab the battleship crazily with his two front feet. Phew! 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 And the thin film energy that was originally used to defend the front end of the steel plate had completely lost its ability to resist after being destroyed for the first time, and had long since disappeared. Jia Yan's thrust was equivalent to easily piercing the battleship's defensive steel plate, which was the same as the previous destruction. Without starting the battleship, it would be the same. Finally, a bright flare appeared inside the battleship. Jia Yan felt the rapidly increasing temperature, and with a twinkle in his eyes, he quickly got up. His speed was extremely fast, and the explosion from behind had no time to affect him. Boom 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 boom. The explosion finally erupted, plundering the color of the sky and the earth. All creatures saw was a scene full of fire, and some nearby facilities were completely swallowed up by the flames, causing heavy destruction. Everything is destruction. And this time's destruction means that Earth City is not just crazy. They are crazy, yes, but they have crazy fighting power and the ability to defeat. How is it possible? Earth City actually has such combat power, as well as their strategies and arrangements. This cannot be planned by an indigenous force. Who can tell me who is the commander of this force? Such a monster. His series of backup moves are simply terrifying. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 478. P.S. Here is today's update, and I'd like to collect votes for the Kidian 515 Fan Festival. Everyone has 8 votes, and you will get Kidian coins for voting. I beg you all for your support and appreciation. The first officer of the spaceport finally came to his senses from a series of battles. Looking at the scenes of the battles, he finally had a bad feeling in his heart. How long will it take for our communications to be restored? These damn Earth City powerhouses may really destroy our spaceport. Without reinforcements, it will be difficult for us to defeat them. Sir. We still have 1 minute before communication is restored, the staff officer replied, making the first officer's face light up. E-novel? However, another sentence he said made the first officer's expression change drastically again. But even if they are contacted, it will take at least 10 minutes for several major civilizations to send troops over. This is if they do not want to cause more disputes and gaps. The correspondent outside reported that the Earth City army has already arrived at the city. More than 10,000 tanks and more than 100,000 soldiers are about to invade our spaceport under the cover of these powerful men. Damn it! Everything is arranged so cleverly. What kind of commander does Earth City have? The first officer could hardly help but want to spit out a mouthful of blood. It was clear that their strength had an overwhelming advantage, but the current situation was actually so precarious. All of this was formulated by the terrifying Earth City commander, or military advisor. There must be an unimaginable tactician there, at least a commander who is infinitely more powerful than them in the spaceport who have no combat experience. The master tactician. He believes that if it weren't for this mysterious existence, the situation in the spaceport would not be like this, because they are a real superpower with space battleships. Each civilization has contributed some battleships to each spaceport. Although they are on guard against each other and do not cooperate very much, if they are truly stronger, these spaceports are simply the strongest after the major civilizations. Power. Even the number of battleships is much greater than that of a few weak fleets swimming in space. A normal encounter, let alone Earth City, which only has the strength of a starry sky-level powerhouse, even the main battleships of the Biochemical Empire and the Asta Empire on the Grey Star want to destroy them. It takes a lot of effort. But Earth City, a power that was so poor and so weak that it could be defeated in one blow, actually used sneak attacks and tactics to suppress them like this. It is simply the shame of the spaceport among all the gray and yellow stars. The 500-meter class battleship has taken off yet. What? Are you still starting the heat engine? Bastard. This is the 500-meter class battleship given to us by the Asta Empire. It is simply an antique that is so old that it will lose its teeth. It must be lifted into the air. As long as it flies, these Earth Army bastards are just clowns. The firepower and defense of a 500-meter class battleship are not comparable to that of a 200-meter class battleship. The first officer looked crazy at the moment. After saying these words, he ran towards the outside world in person. He wanted to board the 500-meter class battleship in person. Not only would this be safer, it would also be an opportunity to show off. After all, he has made too many mistakes. Now he can only atone for his sins. If he can command the 500-meter class battleship to victory, his reputation will improve, and he may be able to avoid punishment by the military court. But such a move would directly lead to the death of this unlucky first officer. When this first officer, whose own strength has reached the peak of the heaven level, followed by several powerful followers, ran forward from the ground and charged towards an underground dock. A huge monster that was working hard to destroy the spaceport's artillery fire saw this scene. This monster's body is covered with stones, reaching a height of 20 meters. His strong stone defense makes him look like a stone giant, extremely strong. Haha, look what I found. A big fish. The stone giant, who was formerly the fifth strongest man in the Golden Desert, Long Wu, burst into laughter. Then the other two monsters attracted by his voice saw the running man. The first officer in. Long Wu, you are indeed lucky. This guy is the highest officer of the spaceport. Come on, let's make the biggest contribution today. The two monsters were also extremely surprised. Three powerful peak-level monsters charged towards the first officer's team in an instant. Sir, be careful. Suddenly, there were several powerful monsters in the team over there, and they were also attacking these monsters. As an important spaceport, the bodyguards around the first officer were naturally several extremely powerful ones. The peak of heaven level. They're just a few guys with no actual combat experience. Just die. The powerful men in the Earth City here were all fierce at this time. They attacked each other immediately and exploded with extremely powerful shock waves. The stone giant fought with a monster that seemed to be more than 20 meters tall. However, compared to the opponent, his equipment is one level different. The monster's first attack was to use its head, which looked like it had a tumor, to hit it hard. With a bang, the stone giant was hit hard on the chest, but it only shook a little and took half a step back. Haha. Compared with the assassin's attack, your attack is just trivial. Long Wu laughed loudly, and then he knocked his huge metal stick towards the opponent's hard tumor head. The shock wave rippled wildly again, and the monster fell down with its head spattered with blood. They are both at the peak of the heaven level, and they also have extremely clear differences in strength and weakness. Especially if a person with combat experience fights with an entity without combat experience, the result may be a group fight. These few strong men from the Golden Desert who stood out from thousands of strong men naturally could not be weak, but their opponents. Although their bodies were full of energy and their bodies were packed with muscles, their real fighting power did not lie with them at all. Above, or even just a face-to-face encounter, you will die. This stupid guy actually attacks me with my sidearm. He just doesn't care about life and death. He doesn't have any combat experience at all. He thinks he can really stop me, although the other one is only 10 meters tall, there are sharp edges on both arms. A monster of scythe-like substance. It also easily cuts the opponent in half. Maybe in terms of physical strength and energy, the gap between the two sides is not that big, but the battle experience has determined that these Earth City strongmen. He can easily exert his strongest strength, but the other party is simply unable to do this, so the outcome of the battle between the two parties is doomed. You. How dare you openly attack our spaceport? What awaits you will definitely be the endless pursuit of all civilized armies. You are doomed. When the first officer saw his subordinates, he almost fell into disarray at the first meeting. Completely dead, I suddenly felt hopeless, and even regretted that I had come out of my hiding place on my own initiative. Otherwise, it is impossible for him to be in the current situation of death. Since we have already attacked this place with the adults, we have already thought about the outcome, but it doesn't matter. Even if we are going to die, you, the commander, will die in front of us. That's enough. Ha ha ha. Longwu laughed loudly, then raised his stick. He is right. We have figured out that Earth City is a crazy force, but we live comfortably here. A strong man with arms like a scythe. At this moment, he also raised his sickle arm. That's right, such a crazy force is really impressive. It feels so comfortable to kill. I feel like my strength has improved. It's so refreshing. Another 5-meter huge flying monster that looked like an owl also used its own pointed beak to pick it up towards the first officer. Damn Earth City. The place where the first officer was located was instantly annihilated by the attacks of 3 powerful men. After an instant, splashes of blood appeared. This was also the first officer who had reached the peak of the heaven level. Originally, his combat power was definitely better than that of several of his subordinates, but he was facing 3 more powerful peak heaven level people who were attacking together. How could he withstand it? The first officer of the spaceport died. We killed a big shot, ha ha ha. Longwu moved his steps freely, heading towards another place where the sound of artillery fire was coming, and attacked crazily. In the bottom of their hearts, at this time, they finally felt that Earth City was forcing them at first, but now, after watching this force reach its peak step by step and doing things that are impossible for all private forces, they had a feeling. A true attachment to Earth City. What no one knew was that after the death of the first officer, in a quiet corner, a young Asta man who had died long ago, was bathed in flames and gunfire, and was quietly burned, did not know at this time that why, there seems to be a hint of a smile at the corner of the mouth. Earth City did it, and he died without regrets. And at the moment when a few absolute strong men from Earth City killed the first officer of the spaceport. It's connected. The communication is finally open again. Quick, ask for help. Ask for help from several major civilizations. All the communication officers were about to cry at this time. They were relatively calm before, but when they heard that the first officer of the spaceport was actually killed by bandit soldiers, they suddenly panicked. Earth City is too powerful. It doesn't look like a small force at all. Not only are the warriors powerful, but the tactical arrangements are also brilliant. It is simply a formidable enemy. Without the support of several major civilizations, they may die like the first officer. Chiao Chiao also said indefinite. Is this the chief of Asta civilization? This is the spaceport of city number 5. Sir. We are calling for urgent help. A series of cry-like shouts kept ringing in the liaison office. The spaceport has finally connected to the communication line with the outside world, but the situation has not improved for them for the time being. Kill. Come on. Under the attack of an extremely strong peak-level sky-level expert, a fragile high wall of the spaceport collapsed in an instant. The chariots approaching from outside, like murderous beasts, finally roared and charged. They entered the spaceport of city number 5 that they probably never thought they would enter. Look, the assassin and a dozen powerful men have actually caused such terrible damage to the spaceport. Is this the strength of the adults? Even the spaceport can be destroyed like this. I thought the adults must be here to die. It turns out I wrongly blamed them. Ah! That wreckage is the battleship of the Asta Empire. It has been destroyed. There is another one there. It belongs to the Rulan Empire. This. When a soldier charged into the spaceport with a certain death intention, what he found here was definitely not what they imagined. Instead, at this moment, the battleships were like scrap metal, one by one or lying on the ground. There was no movement at all, or it was simply bathed in flames. At this moment, the fear in their hearts was no less than that of the enemies and ordinary people in the spaceport. This is the number 5 city spaceport with the same equipment level as the regular armies of several major civilizations. Oh my God! How can this be? How is this done? Each of these Earth City soldiers seemed to be recognizing Jia Yan and Lady Dafuni for the first time, and they all became stunned. You must know that although they understood before that one of the two adults was extremely powerful, and even one of the 4 Starry Sky level adults on this planet, they still did not know how powerful the Starry Sky level was. Now I finally know, Starry Sky level. It's so powerful that you can't believe it. Oh my God. Could it be that we can really attack and destroy this spaceport? The soldiers of Earth City looked at the scenery outside the chariot, all speechless, as if they had lost their minds. Something that they thought was impossible to defeat in the past has become like this under the attack of the force they belong to, in which almost all the members have inner ghosts and could collapse like a building at any time. No one knows how this happened. What kind of principle is forming, because no matter how you think about it, this kind of thing is impossible. What are you still waiting for? What a bunch of bastards. Miss Daphne has given the order, attack. Attack. Attack me quickly and help the adults capture this spaceport. The roars of the temporary commanders came from the communicator. They would not admit that before Delphine gave the order, they were just like ordinary soldiers, feeling incredible and lost about everything that happened in front of them. Thinking ability. Yes. Attack. Our Earth Army is really going to go against the grain today. Let everyone be a part of this incredible feat. One soldier after another, just woke up at this moment. Crazy. Each one of them went crazy under the excitement and huge contrast. Ouch. The following is not build. I did it, Bulletin you did it. The 2 consecutive days of 10,000-word explosion updates are a breakthrough for Bulletin U and the result of everyone's support. I would like to thank the book friends Tianyu and Tianyu who gave Bulletin U the opportunity to explode, and I would also like to thank all book friends for their genuine support. With your support, Bulletin U can become popular. Thank you. Forgive me that I may not be able to explode tomorrow, because I am really tired these 2 days and need a short rest. However, Bulletin U's confidence has risen. As long as there is an opportunity in the future, the number of explosions will definitely be more. Please subscribe to the official version. This is Bulletin U's biggest explosive power. 515 is coming soon, and I hope to continue to hit the 515 red envelope list by May 15th. The red envelope reign will be able to reward readers and promote promotional works. One Piece is also love. I will definitely update it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 479. Welcome. Please remember the address of this website, so that you can read the latest chapter of the novel Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky at any time. Ouch. Damn the coercion, damn the inevitable death. At this time, these Earth soldiers only know that this may be the first time in their lives that they are so proud. The Earth Army soldiers, like those strong men, are completely crazy at this moment. Attack. Attack again. The Earth Army soldiers are of different races and have different combat strengths. But at this moment, they all seem to have become a real army. As the tanks roar, one by one, the Earth Army soldiers draw out their weapons and point towards the outside of the vehicle. The spaceport soldiers fired out their own electromagnetic gun energy rays. The tens of thousands of Earth City soldiers who swarmed into the spaceport were like the last straw that broke the camel's back. The strong ones were killed by the giant mosquitoes and other heaven-level peaks, while the defenders with average combat strength were killed by these ordinary tanks. Fight against individual warriors. Please send troops quickly. Our defenders at Spaceport Number 5 have suffered an astonishing reduction in numbers. The Earth City Army has already rushed in. Warship? The Earth Army used some tricks that we were not prepared for, so most of the warships have been destroyed, but some others underground will definitely be able to successfully take off, and we will definitely be able to suppress them by then. After a communications officer exchanged a few words with the big man on the opposite side of the communicator, he put down his communicator in great embarrassment. He knew that what he said was a little arrogant. He could not think of any way to counterattack now due to the suppression of the Earth Army. The mistake was that the spaceport at this time had no defense before the war, and there were no security provisions to defend against the enemy. He carried it out so faithfully that a dozen strong men from the Earth Army were attacked by surprise and were caught off guard. But the signal has been sent out. It is impossible for several major civilizations to just sit idly by. The communications officer looked at the battle situation on the holographic screen and felt reassured. What this communications officer didn't know was that the person he was communicating with through the communication connecting the Asta Empire's military headquarters was actually a big shot far beyond his imagination. In the distant starry sky, a man who returned from the ground to the universe smashed the communicator in his hand with force. Gun God Odawa, one of the 5 strongest men in the Asta Empire, looked gloomy at this time. A violent aura gradually spread around his body. Even the staff officer beside him who had just handed him the communicator was under the influence of this powerful aura. He turned pale and had to step back. Earth City, Master Assassin, Odawa looked at the huge gray star below, and seemed to be able to see the fierce battle in the spaceport of City Number 5 through the endless distance. You are very good. How dare a small force dare to do such a thing? Especially the assassin, actually did not abide by the agreement with me and took action himself. Haha, yes, yes. You are really courageous. It seems that I want you to know how terrifying it is for one of the top 5 strongest men in the Asta Empire to go back on his word. It can be seen that this tall Asta strong man finally has a trace of anger at this time, although he has experienced ups and downs as a strong man. But a strong man was teased by a small force on a small planet. This kind of thing is something that no strong man can swallow, let alone one of the 5 strong men of the Asta Empire. Sulfuric acid. A metallic sound sounded, and Odawa gently raised his spear weapon. Sir. We can't make any moves now. There are no diplomatic issues yet. See what he looks like. The staff officer's face became even paler, and he quickly spoke to stop Odawa's impulse. I know, it's a diplomatic issue, right? After all, Odawa is a restricted weapon, and he has encountered similar situations countless times before. So at this moment he said lightly. You go over to mediate diplomatic issues. The warships will be launched at that time, and I will go down first. If I am alone, I will not attack without diplomatic approval. I will just go over and wait. Is that okay? This is indeed no problem, but sir, please don't make too much of a fuss. The Grey Star is a sensitive planet after all. Here. The staff officer was confused and made his own analysis voice. Okay, I understand everything you said. Now you just figure out how to solve diplomatic problems quickly. I'm leaving. Odawa didn't give the other party any time to speak. He stood up and a door suddenly appeared above the battleship. He passed through several layers of isolation doors and left immediately again. Looking at the officer who turned into a ray of light and fell towards the gray-yellow star again, the anxious staff officer had no choice but to sigh long and helplessly. But soon, he cheered up and was ready to start planning a quick diplomatic strategy. Not only was this powerful Asta strongman feeling frightened and angry at Earth City's subsequent actions, but even the commander of the biochemical empire, Ula, was listening to the players sent by the promotion of the spaceport to be able to communicate. His huge head above, it is also full of anger. That boy, do you think you can stir up trouble with your little strength? It seems like you have to go over and give him a hard time, just in time to catch him in our biochemical empire. By then, you won't be able to become a member of the empire. The Minotaur jumped up with its big feet. Compared to Odao of the Asta Empire, Ula's flying ability was far less powerful. At this moment, he could only fly more than 2,000 kilometers away from City Number 5. He would not return to the military camp at this moment. Okay, just turn back and head towards City Number 5. The moth monster also had a glimmer of light in its compound eyes, and followed the bullhorn monster towards City Number 5. As for the white life form, no one knows where she is at this time. She may still be near City Number 5, or she may be far away, who knows. Boom 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 boom. After the arrival of the army in Earth City, the spaceport of City Number 5 has completely turned into a battlefield where war has spread. People are running around and crying loudly. The sound of artillery fire, explosions, and electromagnetic light that could appear everywhere turned this originally prosperous place into a place of death. No one knows how many life forms have died in this battle, and no one knows. All the equipment in Earth City taken together may not be as powerful as a weekly battleship. What a huge amount of money has been lost now. I just know that this force, which was originally said in every TV media to be a fragmented force, is getting stronger and stronger as it fights, and the more it fights, the more cooperative it becomes. This ability is extremely rare in space wars. After all, the composition of the Earth City force is really modeled, and every intelligent life in civilization has it. There are also some experimental organisms that no other planet has. At this moment, after experiencing battle after battle, these creatures gradually adapted to the battle scene with many comrades. Each and every one of them used their abilities to an extremely high level. Lego. Do you see the enemy over there? If you can see it, please point it out to me. An Earth Army sniper crawled on the tank, aiming at the distant enemy. The enemy over there was 3 kilometers away, but the sniper could only attack the enemy about 1 kilometer away. At this time, he did not relax at all, and was just waiting for help from the assistants around him. The monster next to him may only have the strength of an average Earthling, but the monster's black eyes have extremely powerful eyesight. What's even more terrifying is that he has a strange brainwave power. At this moment, the power of his brainwaves fluctuated. He raised his paw and drew a red heart-like figure in front of the sniper rifle lens. Bang! As this graphic appeared, the sniper pulled the trigger. The enemy in the distance is also a sniper, but it is impossible for him to kill the enemy 3 kilometers away. At this moment, he was shot directly in the head by the sniper from Earth City. Well done, my innate ability is that my hands don't shake, and you have super eyesight and brainwave carving ability. It seems that we are sniper partners made in heaven. The sniper raised his arm excitedly and talked with the assistant clap each other's hands to congratulate each other. Such a scene. It can be seen everywhere in the entire Earth Army that one Earth Army member has discovered the benefits of his comrades or partners, and even some abilities that were originally useless can now play their role. Obviously this is because of the huge Earth Army. The population means that they can always find something suitable for them to do. When people's hearts become a little more unified, the Earth Army began to continuously explode its combat effectiveness. Our army has been invading for more than 3 minutes. If I am not mistaken, the spaceport has notified several major civilizations that their reinforcements may arrive soon. Jia Yan looked at the battle on the Earth. Every place in this small piece of desert that was used as a spaceport seemed to be full of fighting groups. Some of the spaceport garrison who had finally formed an organization and started to resist were overwhelmed by the sea of people on Earth. Army, devour it like crazy. They have 10 warships underground. I have killed one of them, and there are still about 9 left. Jia Yan looked at the scenery in the entire small desert. He looked extremely vigilant. He must know that as long as any one of them is, the launch of the warship has a huge impact on the battle. What he has to do is to attack whenever the underground space opens up. 5 kilometers away. Suddenly, Jia Yanfu's eyes lit up, and he discovered that on the edge of a small desert 5 kilometers away, a 200-meter class battleship was quietly floating in the air at this moment, and it might be successful in the next moment. Boom! Jia Yan's body moved and instantly burst out at a speed that was about 50 times faster than the speed of sound on the earth. The ground shook. Jia Yan was bathed in the firelight caused by the explosions, and the suspended battleship immediately discovered his traces. Its barrel pointed towards Jia Yan, and it immediately fired the main gun attack. Bang! The bright light made the heaven and earth seem to have lost their color. Jia Yan was about to dodge, but he keenly discovered that there was another 200-meter class warship in another place not far away, and it was also rising into the sky. If he could not quickly deal with the current one, then once a ship takes off and uses its powerful engine at full speed, it will have a speed advantage. The Earth's army will definitely end up with heavy casualties. Fight! Jia Yan flapped his wings fiercely, and at the same time, his brainwave power also spread. A blue color began to be actively used by Jia Yan. This crazy blue surge spread all over his body in an instant. And the fire of the main gun directly covered Jia Yan's body at this time. Blue defense. Hold on, Jia Yan felt his whole body shake, and a raging flame occupied his entire sight the moment the main gun light hit his body. A firework that exceeded the sunlight of the gray-yellow star seemed to appear in the sky and the earth. The earth trembled and the air temperature instantly increased by more than 10 degrees. This ball of flames that should have appeared in the cosmic battle now appeared in the gray-yellow star, immediately causing a huge impact that should not have appeared on the planet. Streams of burnt yellow material appeared in the earth. The flames not only swallowed up the big mosquitoes in the sky, but also swallowed up the entire area in the earth. Fortunately, Jia Yan was flying at an altitude of about 1,000 meters, and the small desert was swept by a fierce flame. On the ground, large chunks of yellow sand turned into crystals, and some buildings also turned yellow. Fortunately, most Earth City tanks. They still have basic explosion-proof capabilities, and the flames cannot cause much damage to them. Moreover, the explosion of the main gun is still a little distance from them, so most of them are still intact. After all, no matter how broken these are, they are still the crystallization of combat wisdom from alien technology. Die. When the flying 200-meter class battleship thought that it had launched a main gun attack, even if it could not kill the powerful Starry Sky-class monster, it would definitely seriously injure it. An extremely sharp front foot with a bright blue color. It was poured into the energy film opened by the battleship. Ah! Jia Yan faintly heard screams of terror coming from the battleship, but at this time, he had no time to listen to these things seriously. He just used his own body, which was radiating azure light, to exert his power to the limit. Phew! With a stab from the front foot, the thin film of light only resisted for a moment before making an overwhelming sound of shattering. Jia Yan's front foot finally penetrated the interior of the battleship. Phew! 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 There are so many ways to fight battleships. He already knew very well how to attack most efficiently, so he swung his pair of long legs crazily and stabbed into the body of the battleship again and again. In just a dozen stabs, the battleship in front of it had several critical points. For example, the key parts of the main power system and the backup power system were all punctured by several large holes by Jia Yan's more than 60-meter-long forefoot, making it impossible for them to operate. Without any time to delay, Jia Yan took out his front foot and kicked the back. In one direction behind, he exploded at his highest speed and rushed away. The 200-meter class battleship that had lost its kinetic energy finally seemed like a giant fly that had lost its ability to fly. It fell to the ground with a buzzing sound. When it made a thundering sound, the big Mosquito, which had already turned into azure blue, rushed into the next flying battleship again. The giant Mosquito in the sky once again showed its blue body. This is his completely most powerful moment. Not only can he withstand the main gun of the battleship, but at this time, even his attacks have become extremely sharp. After all, the blue defense brings a great hardness and sharpness to the attack organs of the whole body. Defuni, inform us that the entire army should stop pursuing the enemy within 2 minutes. Let them evacuate to the 2 large transport ships that are protected. Jia Yan stabbed it, pierced it again, and then flew up the battleship to defend it. At the same time, he sent out his own brainwave power. As he finished all this, the 200-meter class battleship in front of him was shaking its 200-meter class body in less than a second, with more than a dozen pierced holes on its body. To the ground. Jia Yan was not moved at all when he shot down a battleship again, but there were already Earth Army soldiers below who had witnessed this miracle and started going crazy. Long live the assassin! It turns out that this is Lord Assassin's true strength. He can easily deal with a 200-meter class warship. Who analyzed that Lord Assassin is only the bottom Starry Sky class? You are so powerful. Long live my lord! The more than 100,000 surviving Earth Army soldiers, as well as the old, weak, sick, and disabled, were all shouting Jia Yan's name like crazy. It is at this time that it can be revealed who the real Optimus Prime is in this army. Not Daphne, nor those other powerful men, nor Oryx, the earliest elder. But their real leader, the big Mosquito Jia Yan. His strength has not exploded much before, but when it breaks out now, it is absolutely earth-shattering. In fact, he has many other advantages that have not been reflected. Even as an evolved beast, his potential is endless. At this time, these members screamed one by one, maybe it was a little early. Yes. I will order you to go down within 2 minutes. From Jia Yan's small communicator hidden in the safe place of the tentacles and ears, Defuni's voice also sounded with a hint of awe. It was Defuni who always stood out, but at the critical moment, she could still know, something you can truly rely on. Still the fighting power of a big Mosquito. One message after another starts within tens of seconds. Pass it on quickly. At this time, some of the famous Earth City members turned their heads slowly before they could react. I see, this is why the 2 adults attacked the spaceport. Did you just think of it? We had already thought about it when the adults ordered us to attack the spaceport. Since our Earth Army can no longer stay on this gray-yellow star, the adults are thinking ahead. Naturally, we want to find a way to escape from the planet. Ouch! Damn the coercion, damn the inevitable death. At this time, these Earth soldiers only know that this may be the first time in their lives that they are so proud. The Earth Army soldiers, like those strong men, are completely crazy at this moment. Attack! Attack again! Earth Army soldiers are of various races. The combat strength also varies, but at this moment, each of them seems to have become a real army. As the tank roars, one by one the Earth Army soldiers draw out their weapons and fire at the spaceport soldiers outside the tank. Released his own electromagnetic gun energy light. More than 10,000 Earth City soldiers swarmed into the spaceport. It was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. The strong ones were killed by Big Mosquito and other heaven-level peaks, while the defenders with average combat strength were pitted against these ordinary tanks and individual warriors. Please send troops quickly. Our defenders at Spaceport number 5 have suffered an astonishing reduction in numbers. The Earth City Army has already rushed in. Warship? The Earth Army used some tricks that we were not prepared for, so most of the warships have been destroyed, but others underground will definitely be able to successfully lift off. We will definitely be able to suppress them by then. After a communications officer exchanged a few words with the big man on the opposite side of the communicator, he put down his communicator in great embarrassment. He knew that what he said was a little arrogant. He could not think of any way to counterattack now due to the suppression of the Earth Army. The mistake was that the spaceport at this time had no defense before the war, and there were no security provisions to defend against the enemy. He carried it out so faithfully that a dozen strong men from the Earth Army were attacked by surprise and were caught off guard. But the signal has been sent out. It is impossible for several major civilizations to just sit idly by. The communications officer looked at the battle situation on the holographic screen and felt reassured. What this communications officer didn't know was that the person he was communicating with through the communication connecting the Asta Empire's military headquarters was actually a big shot far beyond his imagination. In the distant starry sky, a man who returned from the ground to the universe smashed the communicator in his hand with force. Gun God Odawa, one of the 5 strongest men in the Asta Empire, looked gloomy at this time. A violent aura gradually spread around his body. Even the staff officer beside him who had just handed him the communicator turned pale under the influence of this powerful aura and had to retreat. Earth City, Master Assassin, Odawa looked at the huge gray star below, and seemed to be able to see the fierce battle in the spaceport of City Number 5 through the endless distance. You are very good. How dare a small force dare to do such a thing? Especially the assassin, actually did not abide by the agreement with me and took action himself. Haha, yes, yes. You are really brave. It seems that I want you to know how terrifying it is for one of the top 5 strongest men in the Asta Empire to go back on his word. It can be seen that this tall Asta strong man finally has a trace of anger at this time. Although he has gone through ups and downs as a strong man has been teased by a small force on a small planet. This kind of thing is something that no strong person can swallow, not to mention that he is one of the 5 strong people in the Asta Empire. Sulfuric acid. A metallic sound sounded, and Odawa gently raised his spear weapon. Sir. We can't make any moves now. There are no diplomatic issues yet. Seeing his appearance, the staff officer's face became even paler, and he quickly spoke to stop Odawa's impulse. I know, it's a diplomatic issue, right? After all, Odawa is a restricted weapon, and he has encountered similar situations before. I don't know how many times. So at this moment he said lightly. You went over to mediate diplomatic issues. The warships will be launched at that time, and I will go down first. If I am alone, I will not attack without diplomatic approval. I will just go over and wait. Is that okay? This is indeed no problem, but sir, please don't make too much of a fuss. After all, Grey Star is a sensitive planet. Here. The staff officer was confused and made his own analysis voice. Okay, I understand everything you said. Now you just figure out how to solve diplomatic problems quickly. I'm leaving. Odawa didn't give the other party any time to speak. He stood up and a gate suddenly appeared above the battleship. He passed through several layers of isolation doors. Immediately left again. Looking at the officer who turned into a ray of light and fell towards the gray-yellow star again, the anxious staff officer had no choice but to sigh long and helplessly. But soon, he cheered up and was ready to start planning a quick diplomatic strategy. Not only was this powerful Asta strongman feeling shocked and angry at Earth City's subsequent actions, but also the commander of the biochemical empire, Bulla. At this moment, I heard that the players sent by the promotion from the spaceport could communicate, and their huge heads were also filled with anger. That boy, do you think you can stir up trouble with your little strength? It seems like you have to go over and give him a hard time, just in time to catch him in our biochemical empire. By then, you won't be able to become a member of the empire. The Minotaur stood up with big feet. Compared to Odao of the Asta Empire, Ula, whose flying ability is far less powerful, can only fly more than 2,000 kilometers away from the number 5 city. At this time, he no longer returns to the military camp, but turns back to the number 5 city. Go to the city. The moth monster also had a glimmer of light in its compound eyes, and followed the bullhorn monster towards city number 5. As for the white life form, at this time, no one knows where she is. She may still be near city number 5, or she may be far away, who knows. Boom 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 boom. After the arrival of the army in Earth City, the spaceport of city number 5 has completely turned into a battlefield where war has spread. People are running around and crying loudly. The sound of artillery fire, explosions, and electromagnetic light that could appear everywhere turned this originally prosperous place into a place of death. No one knows how many life forms have died in this battle, and no one knows. All the equipment in Earth City combined may not be as powerful as a weekly battleship, and how much money has been lost now. I just know that this force, which was originally said in every TV media to be a fragmented force, is getting stronger and stronger as it fights, and the more it fights, the more cooperative it becomes. This ability is extremely rare in space wars. After all, the composition of the Earth City force is really modeled, and every civilization has intelligent life, and there are also some experimental organisms that no other planet has. At this moment, after experiencing battle after battle, these creatures gradually adapted to the battle scene with many comrades, and each one used their abilities to an extremely high level. Lego. Do you see the enemy over there? If you can see it, please point it out to me. An Earth Army sniper crawled on the tank, aiming at the distant enemy. The enemy over there was 3 kilometers away, but the sniper could only attack the enemy about 1 kilometer away. At this time, he did not relax at all, and was just waiting for help from the assistants around him. And the monster next to him may only have the strength of an average earthling, but the monster's black eyes have extremely powerful eyesight. What's even more terrifying is that he has a strange brainwave power. At this moment, the brainwave as his power surged, he raised his paw and drew a red heart-like figure in front of the sniper rifle lens. Bang! As this graphic appeared, the sniper pulled the trigger. The enemy in the distance was also a sniper, but it was impossible for him to kill the enemy 3 kilometers away. At this moment, he was directly shot in the head by the sniper from Earth City. Well done, my innate ability is that my hands don't shake, and you have super eyesight and brainwave carving ability. It seems that we are sniper partners made in heaven. The sniper raised his arm excitedly and talked with the assistant clap each other's hands to congratulate each other. Such a scene. It can be seen everywhere in the entire Earth Army that one Earth Army member has discovered the benefits of his comrades or partners, and even some abilities that were originally useless can now play their role. Obviously this is because of the huge Earth Army. The population means that they can always find something suitable for them to do. When people's hearts become a little more unified, the Earth Army began to continuously explode its combat effectiveness. Our army has been invading for more than 3 minutes. If I am not mistaken, the spaceport has notified several major civilizations that their reinforcements may arrive soon. Jia Yan looked at the battle on the Earth. Every place in this small piece of desert that was used as a spaceport seemed to be full of fighting groups. Some of the spaceport garrison who had finally formed an organization and started to resist were overwhelmed by the sea of people on Earth. Army, devour it like crazy. They have 10 warships underground. I have killed one of them, and there are still about 9 remaining. Jia Yan looked at the scenery in the entire small desert. He looked extremely vigilant. You must know that as long as any warship takes off, it will have a huge impact on the battle. What he has to do is to attack whenever the underground space opens up. 5 kilometers away. Suddenly, Jia Yanfu's eyes lit up and he spotted the edge of a small desert 5 kilometers away. A 200-meter class battleship is rising quietly at this moment, and it may be successful in the next moment. Boom! Jia Yan's body moved and instantly burst out at a speed that was about 50 times faster than the speed of sound on the earth. The ground shook, Jia Yan was bathed in the firelight caused by explosions, and the suspended battleship. It was also the first time he discovered his traces. Its barrel pointed towards Jia Yan, and it immediately fired the main gun attack. Bang! The bright light made the heaven and earth seem to have lost their color. Jia Yan was about to dodge, but he keenly discovered that there was another 200-meter class warship in another place not far away, and it was also rising into the sky. If he can't quickly deal with the current one, and the other one lifts into the air and uses its powerful engine at full speed, it will have a speed advantage, and the Earth army will definitely end up with heavy casualties. Fight! Jia Yan flapped his wings fiercely, and at the same time, his brainwave power also spread. A blue color began to be actively used by Jia Yan, and this crazy blue surge spread all over his body in an instant. And the fire of the main gun directly covered Jia Yan's body at this time. Blue defense. Hold on, Jia Yan felt his whole body shake, and a raging flame occupied his entire sight the moment the main gun light hit his body. A firework that surpassed the sunlight of the gray-yellow star seemed to appear in the sky and the earth. The earth trembled and the temperature of the air instantly increased by more than 10 degrees. This flame that should have appeared in the cosmic battle now appeared among the gray-yellow star. Immediately caused a huge impact that should not occur on the planet. Streams of burnt yellow material appeared in the earth. The flames not only swallowed up the big mosquitoes in the sky, but also swallowed up the entire area in the earth. Fortunately, Jia Yan was flying at an altitude of about 1,000 meters. After the small desert was swept by a fierce flame, large chunks of yellow sand turned into crystals appeared on the ground, and some buildings also appeared scorched yellow. Fortunately, most of the Earth City tanks still have basic explosion-proof capabilities, and the flames cannot cause much damage to them. Moreover, the explosion of the main gun is still a little distance from them, so most of them are still undamaged. After all, no matter how broken these are, they are still the crystallization of combat wisdom from alien technology. Die. When the flying 200-meter class battleship thought that it had launched a main gun attack, even if it could not kill the powerful Starry Sky-class monster, it would definitely seriously injure it. An extremely sharp front foot, with a bright blue color, poured hard into the energy membrane opened by the battleship. Ah! Jia Yan faintly heard screams of terror coming from the battleship, but at this time, he had no time to listen to these things seriously. He just used his own body, which was radiating azure light, to exert his power to the limit. Phew! With a stab from the front foot, the thin film of light only resisted for a moment before making an overwhelming sound of shattering. Jia Yan's front foot finally penetrated the interior of the battleship. Phew! 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 With so many ways to fight against the battleship, he already knew very well how to attack most efficiently, so he swung his pair of long legs crazily, stabbing again and again into the body of the battleship. In just a dozen thrusts, Jia Yan's more than 60-meter-long forefoot stabbed out several major vital points of the battleship in front of him, such as the main power system and the key parts of the backup power system. It is simply impossible to operate. Without any time to delay, Jia Yan pulled out his front foot, kicked it, and blasted away in a direction behind him at his highest speed. The 200-meter class battleship that had lost its kinetic energy finally seemed like a giant fly that had lost its ability to fly. It fell to the ground with a buzzing sound. When it made a thundering sound, the big Mosquito, which had already turned into azure blue, rushed into the next flying battleship again. The giant Mosquito in the sky shows its blue body again. This is his completely most powerful moment. Not only can he withstand the main gun of the battleship, but at this time, even his attacks have become extremely sharp. After all, the blue defense brings a great hardness and sharpness to the attack organs of the whole body. Defuni, inform us that the entire army should stop pursuing the enemy within 2 minutes. Let them evacuate to the 2 large transport ships that are protected. Jia Yan stabbed it, pierced it again, and then flew up the battleship to defend it. At the same time, he sent out his own brainwave power. As he finished all this, the 200-meter class battleship in front of him was shaking its 200-meter class body in less than a second, with more than a dozen pierced holes on its body, and one head carrying it to the ground. Jia Yan was not moved at all when he shot down a battleship again, but there were already Earth Army soldiers below who had witnessed this miracle and started going crazy. Long live the assassin! It turns out that this is Lord Assassin's true strength. He can easily deal with a 200-meter class battleship. Who analyzed that Lord Assassin is only the bottom Starry Sky class? You are so powerful. Long live my lord! The more than 100,000 surviving Earth Army soldiers, as well as the old, weak, sick, and disabled, were all shouting Jia Yan's name like crazy. It is at this time that it can be revealed who the real Optimus Prime is in this army. Not Daphne, nor those other powerful men, nor Oryx, the earliest elder. But their real leader, the big mosquito Jia Yan. His strength has not exploded much before, but when it breaks out now, it is absolutely earth-shattering. In fact, he has many other advantages that have not been reflected. Even as an evolved beast, his potential is endless. At this time, these members screamed one by one, maybe it was a little early. Yes, I will order you to go down within 2 minutes. From Jia Yan's small communicator hidden in the safe place of the tentacles and ears, Defuni's voice also sounded with a hint of awe. It was Defuni who always stood out, but at the critical moment, she could still know, what you can really rely on is the fighting power of the big mosquito. Messages started to be transmitted quickly within tens of seconds. At this time, some of the famous Earth City members turned their heads slowly before they could react. I see, this is why the 2 adults attacked the spaceport. Did you just think of it? We had already thought of it when the adults ordered us to attack the spaceport. Since our Earth army can no longer stay on this gray-yellow planet, the adults are far-sighted and naturally find a way to escape from the planet. It's been 2 days since the outbreak. I can't turn my head today, but Buletinu was happy when I saw the medal of habitual explosion in the book. This is a book that has been updated 10 times with 10,000 words. This is possible. The medal I received, I admire myself so much, I'm so convinced. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Buletinu. Chapter 480. Welcome, please remember the address of this website, so that you can read the latest chapter of the novel Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky at any time. Even the previous attack on the entire Golden Desert and the attack on City Number 5 was all planned for this purpose. Thinking about everything they did, it turned out to be for this goal. It is simply terrifying. These are all the strategies and arrangements of Lady Defuni. Everything was done in every detail, and it was really done, which is still unbelievable even now. Let's go. Get to the large transport ship that the adults have already protected within 2 minutes. After that, we can escape into the universe. After doing all this, we can still survive, ha ha ha. One by one, Earth City soldiers burst out with heroic laughter. Compared with their previous disapproval of Earth City as a force, although most of them still had a bad impression of Earth City, after all, many have begun to change. One after another, the Earth Army tanks began to gallop crazily. No matter which area they were engaged in the small desert area of this spaceport, the furthest point was only 7 or 8 kilometers away. If the horsepower was increased, it would be within 2 minutes. It is still possible to return within 12 days. Squeak, squeak, squeak. There were the roars of chariots running wildly everywhere. As the battle progressed, there was no large-scale resistance force at the spaceport, so their retreat became very smooth. Jia Yan was suspended in the sky. He knew that there were still several battleships in the spaceport that had not appeared, but were lying in ambush below the ground where he could not see the clues. But there are other possibilities, that is, the underground warships are just reserves, and their attack is too sudden. Although the soldiers in the spaceport are on standby, it is not that simple to launch it quickly. It appeared before it must have been possible to do this only if it had captured several battleships underground and had made the other party operate extremely quickly. It is not impossible that the remaining battleships will be unable to fight for a while. But Jia Yan still didn't dare to be careless at all. The reason why they were able to do such an incredible thing today did not rely on Jia Yan's strength. It is a series of strategies by Daphne. If any warship appears, the Earth Army will have to account for most of it. Many things are done only half the time, but at this moment, it is the most difficult time to relax. Below the Earth Army, tanks began to gather one after another at the northwest corner of the spaceport, where two extremely large transport ships were docked, each about 2 kilometers in length. In fact, it is generally impossible for two transport ships to land on the ground. They can't even be affiliated with the Gray and Yellow Star, but they are constantly running around transporting goods in the starry sky. Show up here today. It was Daphne who continued to initiate some connections and convinced the owner of the transport ship that there was a large amount of cargo waiting for them to accept it in the spaceport of City Number 5, so they landed in a hurry. Unexpectedly, not long after stopping here, such a big thing happened in the spaceport, and the crew members were even more confused in the following time. A strong man rushed into the spaceport and did nothing. They rushed towards the two transport ships. Before they could take precautions, they were forced to stay in place by this strong man. After that, I saw countless Earths turning into chariots, rushing towards this place. Quick! Only 5 newer ones are left among the bulky tanks, and the others are lost. After receiving orders from Daphne, the commanders quickly arranged organizational tasks. The Earth Army of more than 100,000 people has not yet formed an effective organization. There is no good organizational discipline, so it seems messy at the moment. Fortunately, these temporary soldiers all have some qualities of warriors, and they know that every second counts at this moment. So they all do what they can do to the best of their ability, so as not to cause too much chaos. But small-scale chaotic scenes are still inevitable. Some of the tanks were crowded together for unknown reasons. There was an explosion, and there were even some casualties. The soldiers in the spaceport seemed to have discovered the Earth Army's plan at this moment. They jumped out one by one and launched snipers and strong attacks on the teams in the Earth City that started to show signs of retreat. The situation on both sides seemed to have changed one by one. The Earth Army became fearful of fighting because of the possibility of survival, while the Spaceport Army on the other side. It seemed that because they were beaten like this by an unknown indigenous force, all the members became angry, so the fight became much more ferocious in this mood. Jia Yan was watching the battle below from the sky. At this time, under the earth, within an area of only 7 or 8 kilometers in radius, the flames of war were everywhere. You must know that it was a battle between more than 100,000 people. The scene was astonishing. It is extremely terrifying. Lights of various colors continued to bloom in the sky, explosions were heard constantly, and the casualties and screams never stopped. The two huge transport ships with a length of 2 kilometers have also become the attack targets of the spaceport soldiers at this time. Anyway, if these two transport ships are not attacked, they will be snatched away by the bandits of Earth City. It is better to destroy them now. Then Earth City will have nowhere to escape. Suddenly, the crisis strikes again. Jia Yan did not take action himself because he did not feel that the current situation did not need to be dealt with by himself. His combat power is not for this situation. If these Earth troops cannot even control the situation of their imminent retreat, then there is no need to continue to exist. If it really fails, Jia Yan will find a way to let Daifuni take a small spaceship. There are many ways to survive in the universe or find the Earth. What's more, his main focus now must be on the battleship that may appear. Hurry up one by one. After entering the transport ship, follow the orders of the respective team commanders and enter defensive positions. Each chariot was either allowed to enter the transport ship, or not, and the two transport ships began to expand at an extremely fast speed. Most of the members of the Earth Army also crowded into the transport ship. And because Daphne had already obtained the internal structure diagram of the transport ship, she had urgently assigned most of the team's defense locations before. Although giant-class transport ships are for commercial use, they are not without any combat capabilities. After all, such a huge transport ship is of great value. If it does not have certain offensive and defensive capabilities, it is likely to become a target for star thieves. Teams number 5, number 19, number 87, and number 192 have not boarded the ship yet. You will take the small spaceships number 189 and number 79 instead. Group 61, 83, and 212, you go to the small spaceships of 421 and 73. In the communicator, temporarily adjusted communication voices were continuously transmitted. At this time, the time had exceeded 2 minutes, but there were some tanks and individuals still haven't entered the transport ship. From then on, regardless of the danger, Daifuni, who was protected by 3 heaven-level experts, flew into the air and watched the situation. Her head was running wildly, looking at the situation below, and constantly making orders to change her plan. She is now trying her best to eliminate those Earth Army teams that have not reached the transport ship and are even still fighting. Transferred to other places, those places are during the war between the Earth Army. An intact commercial spacecraft that was unexpectedly seized. Although it can no longer be a huge 2-kilometer transport ship, there is still a 1-kilometer transport ship and 12 other commercial spaceships according to various regulations. Her red eyes showed a trace of pain at this moment. Controlling such a huge situation by one person, and the chaotic control of more than 100,000 living creatures, was also a huge burden for Daphne. But she has reached this point, everything is still under her control, and she has sacrificed so much. Her efforts are about to bear fruit now. Even if she grits her teeth, she must keep working hard. This delicate woman seems to be blooming with extremely strong brilliance at this moment. This is her most dazzling moment. Okay, we'll achieve our goal soon. Just hold on, she bit her red lips. It made my mind, which had been in a trance due to excessive use of my brain, become a little clearer. Not long after, another series of orders came from the mouth of this beautiful-looking woman. Daifuni did a great job. Jia Yan was suspended higher in the air, monitoring the entire battlefield, even though the order for a large-scale retreat had been issued. But there are still some Earth Army soldiers. Perhaps because of the enemy's obstruction, or perhaps because the chariot was damaged, it was still some distance away from the 2 huge transport ships. However, even this part of the team members was noticed by Daphne. She tried her best. If she was held back by the enemy, she issued an order and assigned other team members to rescue them. If the chariot was damaged, a small group would go over to greet it. But the casualties are still increasing. Finally, in the entire spaceport, more than 100,000 troops filed in one by one, entering the 2 huge transport ships and the commercial spaceships. An assigned creature stood in some shooting holes of the transport ship and launched attacks at the spaceport soldiers outside. At the same time, the transport ship's defense energy was also turned on. Bastard! We can't let them escape. Artillery fire. What? The artillery system has been completely destroyed by the opponent's masters. Then use the individual artillery to blast me. The soldiers in the spaceport were like a tide. Although they did not reach the scale of 100,000 people, they were still more than 10,000 people. At this time, they seemed to be furious and turned toward the two huge transport ships and the ones that also started their engines and were trying to fly. The commercial spacecraft launched an attack. Okay, if you can't break through the starry sky, you can enter the spaceship. When Jia Yan saw the last spaceship on the ground occupied by the Earth Army, he also closed the hatch and released defensive energy before saying this to the 5 or 6 peak sky-level experts on the side. Yes. A strong man from the former Golden Desert who followed Jia Yan had a look of admiration at this moment. They never expected that Earth City would actually come to this point, or that the two top officials of Earth City would initially. This was the calculation. They thought the two adults were just crazy, but they didn't expect that this was just their short-sightedness. Now that the war is over, not one of them has died due to the attack on the spaceport. At most, they only suffered some injuries. At this time, I have to admire the two adults' tactical arrangements and combat capabilities. These strong men also evacuated. The battleship below that Jia Yan had been paying attention to finally did not appear. He felt that he had demonized those battleships. After all, the unopened battleships were just motionless dead objects. Just like before, he, a being who had just reached the starry sky level, could destroy more than 10 of them. It's like a living target. Is a space battleship that cannot move or has not completed takeoff still a space battleship? Not at all, let alone him, if he is a strong man at the peak of heaven level. Facing a 200-meter class battleship that has not turned on its defense energy, it is possible to defeat its defense. Of course, those warships that took off from the sky relied on their real combat power. Jia Yan himself admired himself for being able to suppress them so that they could not reach the sky and destroy them one by one. This was simply not something that ordinary powerful creatures could do. Boom boom boom. There were still explosions coming from the ground. Jia Yan's compound eyes were slightly startled, and then he realized. On the ground, a team of more than 10 individual soldiers was fighting against a spaceport army that was 10 times more numerous than them. This is a group of abandoned Earth City soldiers. Jia Yan thought for a while, then looked at the spacecraft that had slowly started to take off, and finally made a decision. Boom! A terrifying shockwave erupted in mid-air, and the giant Mosquito's huge body rushed down towards the ground. His figure completely transformed into azure color at this moment, after fighting several battleships before. It made him look like this, so much so that he is still glowing with blue light. What to do? Ross, all the troops have taken off. Ross, let's surrender. We have been abandoned by the Earth Army. In the fighting team, a 3-meter-tall monster that looked like a leader was hiding behind a damaged tank. He was still fighting, but several of his colleagues around him had given up. Although the Earth Army was still able to assist them through the shooting holes of the transport ships, they knew that they were abandoned as soon as any spacecraft began to take off. We can only wait to die. Asshole. I'm from the original Alu's team, and I'm the most reliable old subordinate of Lord Assassin. If you want to surrender, then surrender. I won't surrender, the leader-like monster shouted at this time. Roar. The attack from the opposite side has reached an extremely terrifying level. If most of the spaceport soldiers were not wary of shooting from the transport ship, they would have been attacked by now. However, as the transport ship slowly took off, when they reached an altitude of 30 meters, they were in a blind spot, and the assisting defense above them was completely out of consideration. Charge! Kill them! A spaceport soldier let out a thundering cry. As a regular soldier, they were really aggrieved today. They were beaten like this by a small force. Now, how could they not vent their anger with a massacre? The soldiers charging at the front are obviously of high level. Some of them have even reached the heaven level. The ones hiding behind the car body, even Ross, are only at the peak of the Earth level. At this time, the gray electromagnetic light emitted was easily dodged by that powerful soldier. Dying. The rest of the Earth Army members showed desperate looks. But when they thought about using a little energy, they used the weapons in their hands to give themselves a happy moment. Boom! An extremely huge figure fell from the sky. With his arrival, a violent brainwave force began to wreak havoc on the battlefield in an instant. The dozens of heaven-level warriors who originally rushed in front of the damaged chariot were shocked when they saw the powerful creature coming from the sky, and then it was too late to avoid it. At that moment, the big mosquito had a long puncture on its front foot. Puff 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 puff. Like skewering dumplings, each spaceport soldier was stabbed together by the sharp and blue-lighted front feet. One front foot, which is 60 meters long, can cover a very wide area. Two front feet are twice as lethal. The rest of the soldiers fell to the ground one after another under the influence of the brainwave power, and those who were strong enough were also affected for a moment. Jia Yan's feet moved wildly, as if sweeping away garbage. One by one, ordinary spaceport soldiers were swept away by the big mosquito, which was not at the same level as them. It was just 2 attacks, and if converted into time, it only took about a second. The battlefield where countless soldiers had gathered was cleared of a large open space in an instant. Without the support of battleships and artillery fire, the spaceport soldiers had no way to deal with Jia Yan for a while. Assassin, Master Assassin, the 3-meter-tall creature hiding behind the damaged chariot was so excited that it became incoherent after seeing the arrogant figure of the big mosquito. He knew that Lord Assassin was definitely a cold-faced existence, but this existence took action today for the sake of ordinary warriors like them. Hold on, Jia Yan made a slightly gentle voice, and then used one of his front legs to hold all 10 monsters to his chest. Whirring whirring. The big mosquitoes started flying again. But among the countless spaceport soldiers below, although they held various types of powerful individual weapons in their hands, none of them dared to fire. There is no other reason. It is because the mosquitoes are too strong. A starry sky level, and they can't do anything. If you provoke him randomly, the opponent will return to attack again, and no one can stand it. So they looked at each other with big eyes and small eyes, and no one launched an attack. The dozen or so large and small spaceships above have slowly taken off, and those that are lighter have already reached hundreds of meters in the sky. The 2 transport ships, which were as huge as 2 cities, reached a height of about 100 meters. These commercial spaceships have a relatively slow starting speed, but their flight is relatively reliable, and their ability to accelerate in the later stages should not be underestimated. Thank you, sir. Thanks to the Tianyu book friend for another 10,000 coin reward, Bulletin decided to continue to thank you tomorrow. As for the word count, let's keep it at 8,000 of course. I also want to thank the book friends who voted for the monthly vote and subscribed. Thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin Chapter 481. Thank you, sir. Jia Yan put a dozen fallen soldiers into the spaceship through the side opening of the huge transport ship. A soldier who escaped with his life was grateful to him. Jia Yan did not ask them to say too much, but after the transport ship closed the side opening space, he looked at the starry sky above his head. After so many arrangements, and on this gray-yellow star for so long, we finally reached this moment. All right? Defuni, give them the order, all use the strongest power, to fly into the sky. His voice had just spoken, but unexpectedly it was right after he spoke this voice. How dare you go back on your word? You're going to die. A sound that filled the air resounded throughout the entire world. Jia Yan's huge compound eyes suddenly burst out with extremely bright light. He turned his head very quickly and saw a fierce approaching figure in the distant sky, just like an incredible meteor coming with blazing flames. This figure was holding a spear in his hand. His 2-meter-long body was rapidly rubbing against the air, and a huge flame burst out. It seemed to be a meteorite. He was so arrogant. He is the gun god, one of the 5 powerful men of the Asta civilization, named Odawa. His fighting power is unparalleled, and he can even deal with a fleet at his peak. At this moment, his anger was uncontrollable. Facing a new starry sky-level powerhouse, he felt that he had behaved more friendly. As a powerful being, he could have ignored everything about this weak being, but before his sixth sense allowed this strong man to maintain a level of respect for the flying monster in Earth City, the assassin, that was beyond what he had shown before. But what I didn't expect was, how did the other party repay his respect? He actually went back on his words and overturned what he promised in an instant. Not only did he take action, but he even destroyed many battleships in the spaceport, including 5 battleships produced by the Asta civilization. It can be said to be a heavy loss. On his way here, he had already received a reply from the diplomat that he was ready to fight. The strength of Earth City, attacking the spaceport of City Number 5, has changed from a small indigenous force in the general sense to an existence that is intolerable to all civilizations. Now their efficiency is extremely fast, and they can pass through in just a few minutes. There are licensing regulations one by one. That's what's next. All civilizations can attack Earth City. The first one to come is Odawa, the Asta gunslinger. Come and die. Odawa raised his spear. The spear, which was more than 3.5 meters long, was filled with an invisible energy. This energy caused the surrounding air to vibrate. With the falling momentum, he must completely kill the assassin who has reached the starry sky level with one shot. Killed the strongest man and ruler of Earth City. Then what happens next is a one-sided massacre. Odawa! Jia Yan also roared. His compound eyes seemed to be filled with fierce fighting intent in an instant. The other party claimed that he had gone back on his word, which he admitted. Because this is a fact, but as the strongest man in Earth City, if he hadn't taken action before, then it is impossible for Earth City to win the battle with the spaceport, and if Jia Yan and Daifuni stay on the Grey Star, no matter how strong they are, they will still die miserably, as agreed in the previous agreement. It was originally unfair to him, so Jia Yan felt that it was not his fault that it was destroyed. What's more, everything speaks with strength. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Look at how powerful your so-called 5 powerful men in Asta are. Suddenly, Jia Yan's body also moved. The azure color all over his body became even more violent. The azure color almost formed itself into a bright sun, making it impossible for people to look directly at it. A blast of air erupted on the ground where he was. Jia Yan flapped his wings, and then the power of his brain waves pushed him hard, and he flew upwards at high speed. He actually didn't dodge and attacked the oncoming Asta gunslinger head-on. If you want to fight, then fight. War. Roar. Dash. The fiercely rising body of the big mosquito is full of fighting spirit. His strongest battle in this gray-yellow star is about to begin. The speed at which the two are approaching may no longer be visible to ordinary creatures. Their speed has far exceeded the normal level. A slightly weaker life form cannot even see their figures clearly at this moment. A front foot stretched out and collided hard with the sharp tip of the thrusting spear. Ding! Boom! The ground and air trembled faintly, and then a shock wave erupted on the contact surface between the two, and a huge explosion sound erupted. Although it was a huge monster fighting a 2-meter-tall Asta man, the strength of the two and the power they unleashed seemed to be on the same level, which made the crisp chirping of the heaven and the earth almost impossible. It's a kind of earth-shattering meaning. Boom 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 boom. The hot shock wave was raging in the sky and the earth. The violent energy caused the 2-kilometer transport ship not far away to be hit and thrown away 100 meters away. The Earth City members inside the ship all staggered around. Their expressions changed wildly, and the weaker ones were even dizzy and unsteady due to the shock force. Let's go. This battle is not something we can participate in. In a small spaceship, Daphne's screams came out. The usually calm voice seemed to have a hint of panic at this moment. Asta is just the gunslinger. This powerful existence is famous after all. His appearance even gave the previous Dafuni a sense of despair, because the appearance of this strong man, even if he was the only one, was irresistible. But she had no idea that the big mosquito she was serving was actually such a terrifying existence. The two seemed to be frozen in the air for a moment, motionless, and started wrestling. The shock waves continued to spread into the surrounding air, which was simply terrifying. All the spaceships have actually gained the speed to start, and the shock waves from the two are spread again, and the ability to accelerate is even stronger. Bang 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 bang. Their speed has been further increased, because the main power of most commercial spaceships is the flame thruster. Especially at the moment of acceleration, this propulsion is extremely important, so at this moment, each warship not only turns on the anti-gravity, the engine even turned on the flame thruster. Boom 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 boom. Large groups of flames spurted out. All the spaceships activated their maximum power at the moment when the battle broke out, and shot into the sky. In the world, the two strong men who were constantly attacking with power had no time to care about them. They were just bursting out their power crazily and desperately confronting each other. Not bad. Not bad. You actually still have this kind of strength. Odao held the spear tightly with both hands, and the tip of the spear was pressed against Jia Yan's piercing forefoot. The two starry sky-level powers were constantly clashing at the sharp top. Of course I have this kind of strength. But your excellency has let me down. Does the mighty Asta gunslinger only have this little strength? Jia Yan insisted not to retreat, but refused to admit defeat and burst out with brainwave power to sarcastically road. Indeed, one of the 5 powerful men in Asta. With such a big name, if he only has such a little strength, then Jia Yan will be extremely disappointed. He was even able to compete with the opponent's explosive power. Although he seemed to be at a disadvantage, this was completely inconsistent with the strength of an absolutely strong man in his heart. Disappointed? Ha 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 ha. Odao smiled faintly. Do you know where I was before I came to Grey Star? There was a hint of playfulness in his eyes, and there was also a kind of disdain for Jia Yan. Before, I was in the newly established starfield, which was a newly opened starfield by a nearby civilization. Almost most of the powerful people and most of the civilization's armies were there. And it was in that place that I suffered a serious injury. Jia Yan felt the power of the spear against his forefoot, which gradually became stronger. Odao looked at Jia Yan with disdain, which became even more conspicuous. A being like you, with this level of power, is nothing more than a weakling in the newly established starfield. I can kill him with one move. Do you know what I came to the Grey Star for? Cultivation. I'm here just recovering from the injury. I don't want to use all my strength to deal with the biochemical empire Ula, because the biochemical empire is a civilization worthy of my respect, and killing a strong man from the biochemical empire would have too great an impact. And you? Since you want to see my strength so much, and want to see the strength of the real Asta civilization, the 5 powerful men, then let me show you 70% of my strength. Boom. 2,000 meters high in the air, a flash of light suddenly appeared at the center point where the two were together. The shine was like a signal. Jia Yan's unbelievable sense of power finally burst out through the small point where the two came into contact. That is enough power to make mountains roar and tsunami roar. Impossible. Jia Yan was almost speechless. This level of power, was beyond his imagination. But before he could make any reaction, the extraordinary power had already reached him. Big Mosquito's powerful body that reached 30 meters had no time to react, and his head was blasted away by the insanely huge energy. It was not at a level that he could resist at all. One of the 5 powerful men in Asta, he is indeed so powerful that he is boundless. I'm a bit stuck today. There should be another chapter of 5,000 words later, which means today's outbreak is only 8,000 words long. I'm extremely sorry. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 482. If Jia Yan only showed this level, that is, a junior starry sky level powerhouse, or at most an upper middle level starry sky level powerhouse, then this one blow could kill him. But Jia Yan is not such a strong man. His true heritage is completely beyond the reach of ordinary strong men. When the opponent's unknown energy spread, Jia Yan made an impact and was knocked away. At the same time, the blue color in his body was like a tide, escaping directly from the surface of the body's exoskeleton, completely explode the defensive power with all your strength. He was like a little blue sun, taking away the light from heaven and earth. Boom 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 boom. The body of the giant mosquito was like a huge cannonball, fiercely shot into a vast gray-yellow forest. The earth cracked, the sky shook, and a mushroom cloud appeared above the ground. Large tracts of gray and yellow forests turned into ruins at this moment. This shockwave even spread to city number 5 kilometers away. Houses in the city collapsed, civilian aircraft were lifted off by the shockwave, and more people on the ground where it was so dusty that people couldn't stand firmly. Oh my God! Is this a battle between starry sky level experts? I can't believe it, I can't believe it at all. The starry sky level powerhouse is simply beyond imagination, and Master Odao is the top powerhouse among the starry sky level powerhouses. The arrogant assassin can't even deal with him. He caused a tiny bit of damage. A strong man from city number 5 who was watching the battle through the equipment from a distance, as well as the senior officials, all changed their demeanor at this time. Although they knew that Odao was powerful before, they fought against Naura again and again. They are all equally ranked, or they only have a slight advantage, so that these characters think that the difference between the power of the starry sky level is not too big. But now it seems that this is not the case at all. Lord Odao is too strong. The power that burst out even made those who were watching the battle from a distance feel suffocated. I didn't see the huge Earth City assassin, but he was bombarded to the ground by one blow. Maybe they're all dead. Boom boom boom. Countless smoke and dust appeared around him. After his huge body was bombarded to the ground like a cannonball, the giant mosquito's body seemed to become a drill bit drilling into the ground. The soft soil on the ground was completely unable to stop his fall. In an instant, his body was the huge force hit the ground 50 meters deep. Not long after, the blue color became more eye-catching, but Jia Yan, the big mosquito, did not die directly as other beings suspected. But at this moment, the sparkle and ruthlessness in his compound eyes became even brighter. Odao, you are indeed strong enough. But I am not without any resistance. His attack has not hurt me yet. The big mosquito sensed his own body and found that due to the obstruction of the blue defense, the opponent's power could not fully enter his body, and almost most of it was blocked outside the body. Although some of the power seemed to have invaded his internal organs, Jia Yan felt that there was nothing unusual, at least not to the extent that he would lose his fighting ability. Click, click. Jia Yan raised his sore feet with difficulty, and controlled his brainwave power to directly take out several bottles of advanced nutrient solution from under the diaphragm of his wings. After drinking a bottle of nutrient solution, he felt that his strength had recovered. After that, he no longer cared so much and drank all the advanced nutrient solution. The advanced nutrient solution, the so-called scarce resource in the gray-yellow star, is an extremely powerful supplement to Jia Yan's energy at this time. At least his physical characteristics are that replenishing energy will greatly increase combat effectiveness and injury recovery capabilities, and this is not easy. The collected nutrient solution is also very in line with Jia Yan's requirements. After all, Earth City also has some junior and intermediate biologists under close search. They have searched for these high-level biologists one by one based on Jia Yan's physical characteristics. Jia Yan didn't know the specific principles and things of nutrient solutions, but at least when he used them, he found that these nutrient solutions matched his body very well. Almost in an instant, he could feel that his body was showing a force. The fierce fighting rhythm made Jia Yan discover that a faint condensation appeared on the surface of his blue defense at some point. These condensates pass through some rocks and yellow sand in the ground, and are gently absorbed into the surface of the body. With the use of those nutrient solutions, the body's energy recovery speeds up. A trace of strength appeared on the surface of Jia Yan's body, because Odao's one attack greatly reduced the feeling of weakness. But even so, Jia Yan already knows that there is an extremely exaggerated gap between himself and Odao, a strong man from the Asta civilization. This gap cannot even be made up by strong defense. I can't fight him anymore, I have to escape. But I can't escape directly, but I should adopt the method of fighting and escaping at the same time. Otherwise, if he attacks the spaceships that the Earth Army has finally obtained, then Daphne they are in danger. In the sky where the storm was still raging, Odawa was bathed in countless storms and scorching energy flames. The huge explosion previously caused great destruction in the forest of this gray-yellow star, and a huge mushroom cloud formed. Appearing in the air, strong winds and temperatures are unlikely to recover for a while. He looked at the ground below. As a strong man, he knew how powerful the power he had unleashed before was, and even a mid-level starry sky-level strongman might not be able to withstand it. So he also thought that the big mosquito was dead. I can't use more energy. After all, I came here to recuperate from my injuries, not to add to my injuries. He frowned and looked at his body. Although this strong man was known as one of the 5 strongest men in Asta, he was among the 5 powerful men, he is still ranked at the bottom. Among all interstellar civilizations, although he is also a top powerhouse, there are still some who can defeat him. This time it is because of the war in the newly established star field. He is in after being seriously injured by a strong man's attack. He came to this gray-yellow star which basically belonged to the rear, and carried out the easy task of adjusting the gray-yellow star, plus recuperating his injuries. But he didn't expect that on this planet, there would be situations where he would be required to use 70% of his strength. This made Odawa couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Fortunately, the assassin has been killed, and next are the Earth troops who fled to the outer layer of the gray-yellow star. They are a bit troublesome. After all, the universe is too big. They did not expect that the Earth troops would capture it so quickly. The spaceship in the spaceport has not yet completed its mission of surrounding the gray and yellow stars. The spaceship captured by Earth City may very well be able to escape into the universe. In the universe, it's not that easy to catch. Okay, part of the battleship should be close. I'll go back now and command the battleship to arrest. He looked at the sky above his head and was about to fly upward. Odawa! Suddenly, a huge voice came out among the flames and storm. Well, he's not dead yet? Impossible. Odawa's eyes suddenly glowed, and he looked back with a strange expression. I saw below the sky and the earth, a huge figure rising from the ground with extremely dazzling blue light. His speed reached more than 50 times the speed of sound. A 4-foot with a slight crack struck hard in the direction of Odawa. Although I don't know why you didn't die, you didn't run away and still wanted to attack me. You simply didn't care about life and death. A trace of evil appeared on Odawa's face, and then he waved his spear. 70% of the power continued to spread. Under his swing, the spear seemed to have a trace of spirituality, and it stabbed hard towards the place where Jia Yan was. However, this time Jia Yan knew that his own strength could not match the opponent at all, so he did not confront the opponent head-on. But at the moment of approaching, his front foot was used as a dodge. After lightly knocking the tip of the spear, his long foot seemed to turn into a whip and hit Odao's chest. Even though Jia Yan's attack power is not at the level of Odao, after all, as a Starry Sky level powerhouse, his power is not something that Odao can underestimate. Odao didn't dare not avoid it. He moved and easily dodged Jia Yan's attack. Your front foot is really light and fast. He smiled evilly, and then stabbed Jia Yan in the cross-section of his forefoot. There was a loud bang. The shot that contained 70% of Odao's attack power was not destroyed by his own shot as Odao expected. Instead, when Odao stabbed Jia Yan's forefoot, he noticed a powerful reaction. The shock force hit his arm. How is that possible? Such a strong defense, Odao was startled, and then his face finally became solemn. He understood that the reason why the other party did not die before was because the other party's strength was not in attack or brainwave power, but in his defense. This level of defense is simply a headache for a strong man like him. After all, Odao, as an Asta man, his body size determines that he cannot be a strong man famous for his attack power. In battle after battle, the most difficult enemies he encounters are often like this, a behemoth with strong defense. And now the big mosquito was actually the type that caused him the most headaches. Odao frowned suddenly. You know, if you want to deal with such an opponent, you often need to use all your strength to attack for a long time. However, his injury means that he cannot fight for a long time, so now the situation has become a headache. Then I will use all my strength one at a time. Even if the injury is aggravated, I can definitely solve it in one go. Odao's expression finally showed a hint of solemnity. Such an opponent was worthy of him using all his strength. High in the sky, two huge figures were hidden in the clouds. The giant one with a huge horn looked solemn at this moment. It turns out that Odao's true strength is so exaggerated. I thought I could fight against him, but it turned out to be so far behind. But it's normal. After all, he can fight against the adults of our biochemical empire. The presence. That kid, I really underestimated him. If I go by what my daughter said, he was just an evolved beast that had just evolved to the Starry Sky level, but in such a short period of time, he was able to make Odao work so hard. The future is endless. However, he broke the agreement of interstellar civilization, which can be said to be a heinous crime. Thinking of these horned monsters made me depressed. After all, up until now, he had been thinking about bringing this evolved beast back into the biochemical empire. Now that he saw the two strong men fighting, he felt a headache. After all, his strength was no more than that of no one. Odao's explosive strength was the same, while Jia Yan was even able to resist 70% of Odao's strength. Such a contrast made him feel that he could no longer control the situation. Even if he joins forces with the moth monster around him, it seems that he cannot do such a thing. That's all, let's just hide here and watch the battle and act by ear. This huge monster is naturally the commander-in-chief of the biochemical empire, Ula. At this time, his huge body of 50 meters is looming in the clouds. The moth monster beside him has compound eyes flashing, without any expression fluctuation. Just looking at the battle below, it seemed extremely quiet. Boom! Odao swung his spear. Because the speed was too fast, the tip of the spear suddenly became engulfed in flames, and his expression became solemn. At full strength, Just when he was about to burst out with all his strength, he saw the big mosquito in front of him that had been aggressive and fighting to the death suddenly retreated towards the rear after a flash. This point happened to be stuck when Odao wanted to explode with all his strength. If he was stuck, he would not explode, nor would he explode. It was extremely uncomfortable. Jia Yan's wings vibrated and he flew quickly towards the direction of the dozen or so spaceships leaving Earth City. He's on the run. At this time, he only fought against Odao again for a few rounds, but he already felt a feeling of almost vomiting blood. After all, as a junior level of Starry Sky level, he had to fight against a strong man like Odawa who had almost reached the top level. When fighting, Jia Yan has no advantage other than relying on strong defense. Although his body is still flashing blue, the inside of his body is already scarred. Where to escape? Seeing this scene, Odawa put away his energy, raised his spear, and followed behind the Mosquito. Chase towards the sky. The two bodies, one large and one small, were like fish swimming freely in the sky. They soared into the sky in an instant and reached a height of several kilometers above the ground. Clang! Jia Yan's speed was actually not as fast as Odawa's. The opponent stabbed him with a spearhead. Jia Yan quickly kicked out with his hind foot, and kicked the spearhead with his hind foot. Phew! Jia Yan's hind feet were not as hard as his front feet. A stab caused cracks in the blue color of his hind feet, and a deep scar appeared on the exoskeleton of his hind feet. But Jia Yan also used the power of kicking to rush over another kilometer in an instant. Odawa, on the other hand, was suddenly blocked and fell slightly behind. But this obstacle is only temporary. With cold eyes, he waved his spear again, where to escape. The long breathing shout made people feel the power of his background. This Asta strongman was famous for his endurance. As a star-level top powerhouse, although he was injured and unable to exert his full strength, his endurance had no impact at all. At this time, he knew that if he could not kill such an enemy with strong defense, he would have to fight for his endurance. Compared with endurance, it is never afraid of any strong person. Boom 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 boom. The two continued to chase and escape. Odawa, who has turned on 70% of his strength, is simply not something Jia Yan can fight against. But Jia Yan's blue defense is not something that Odawa, who is 70% strong, can kill with one blow. One after another, their figures quickly broke through the atmosphere of the gray-yellow star. The scenery of the earth gradually became smaller and smaller, and the gray-yellow star trees turned from the magnificent ancient trees in the sky to a continuous gray-yellow color, no longer distinguishable from each other. While Jia Yan was escaping, he couldn't help but be slightly distracted and glanced at the scenery below. He had a strong thought that after leaving this time, perhaps in a short period of time, he might never return to this planet again. He didn't know what kind of emotion it was that made him sigh deeply in melancholy. Die. Suddenly, a force struck behind Jia Yan. It turned out that Odawa had spotted the big mosquito and seemed to be distracted for a moment. At this time, he seized the opportunity and struck out. Jia Yan quickly used all his brainwave power to defend himself behind him. A powerful and unrivaled energy finally spread. When this brainwave power was fully mobilized, there was not much difference compared to the beginning. Phew! The spear that Odawa stabbed was unable to penetrate his surface blue defense again after piercing this layer of brainwave power. Instead, it left a faint blue dot on the first layer of blue defense, which was ineffective. And back. How can it be? Odawa was shocked and immediately paused for a moment. Taking advantage of this moment, Jia Yan used the reaction force of the impact to glide a long distance forward again. It turned out that unknowingly, the two were chasing and escaping, and they had reached a vacuum environment that was almost losing air. It is more than 50 kilometers away from the gray-yellow star, and it is basically located in the outer layer of the gray-yellow star's atmosphere. Impossible. His energy actually hasn't decayed at all. Under such a level of energy explosion, even for me, the energy has decayed to more than 30%, but he has not decayed by 10%. Odawa was extremely surprised when he looked at the big mosquito that continued to speed up and even reached almost the same flying speed as him. At this moment, he finally discovered another power of the big mosquito. That is, his endurance is too strong and incredibly powerful. Moreover, when he was hit underground by Odawa with a powerful blow, Jia Yan also took a large number of high-grade nutrient solutions. These nutrient solutions were purchased specifically for his characteristics, and the effect was surprisingly good. Thank you again to the TNU book friends for finishing the 8,000 word burst. There are only 8,000 words today. I'm a little sorry, but there have been too many bursts in the past 2 days. Today's state is not very good. I will make up for it next time. Thank you everyone. Genuine subscription and waiting, thank you. If you find errors in chapter content, please report it and we will fix it as soon as possible. For more exciting content, please pay attention to Novel Network's new domain name.